What's going on? I am Nando.
And I'm DJ.
And I'm Diggins. Don't know what that was.
Wow.
No
And this
does.
is mostly Nitpicking, a podcast where every week we pick apart a piece of pop culture by looking exclusively at the details. Woo! Very good. That's a good sign, everybody, for how much personality this movie has when you really get down to it.
Diggins, just so you know, I was trying to do like the Gal Gadot's glaive or whatever it was.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that really good joke about how you can't say a thing that repeats a syllable ever.
No one can. No,
yeah, it's
do
pretty
that?
hard. I mean, to be fair, what are things that we always fuck up as a society? Like we just can never say.
Well, everyone incorrectly uses flesh out versus flush out. No one ever gets that. That's not a pronunciation thing, but that's like a turn of phrase.
Sorry, what?
To flesh out something, some people say to like flush it out.
Oh.
Those are two completely different phrases. Like, what are you talking about?
All right, so let's say I want to expand, like I want to, like flesh it out is to like bring more detail, right? To describe something. Some people say instead of flesh it out, we gotta flush it out. We gotta flush out the details.
Oh,
this is a thing people say. I'm not like making shit up.
I've never. I mean, to flush something out is a phrase,
right? But it's like
to
evacuate or to clean or something, right?
Yeah. To get something to leave something else.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Basically, at its most vague.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Like people say, "Oh, I gotta flush it out."
I've never heard a person say that ever in my entire life. Except for you right now.
Maybe now. Maybe
it's pretty handy. I would say like my favorite one of those I ever experienced. I used to work in an office for a while, and I would see like a million like presentations that were all, like some of them were fine, but a lot of them were just like businessy people doing businessy presentations for the sake of it.
Yeah, there's like almost no presentation or meeting that needs to exist.
Exactly.
That's true.
And
That's
like,
true.
I guess more what I'm getting at is most of the people that I worked with were smart and like normal people. Every so often you run into somebody who like, you were like, is that guy actually smart? And it always really helps when he would put something dumb in a PowerPoint slide so we could all read it. And one guy wrote "for all intensive purposes" in words.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, okay. I'll just check right out for this one, please.
That's great. That's great. That's
and
fantastic.
like for people that aren't good at, if you're not good at this, that's fine. But this guy thought he was, and this was definitely, his whole deal. But I was gonna say the other one that I'm watching Veep right now, and we just finished the recount season where everyone's constantly correcting everybody else about Nevada versus Nevada. And like, I've heard that joke so many times, I forgot what the real one is. So do either of you guys know how's it supposed to be pronounced?
It's Nevada.
The one everyone says is Nevada, unless you live there, in which case you say Nevada, which is the correct one, but nobody uses it.
Okay. I guess it makes sense. It sounds a little bit more southwesterny, kind of. It's got a little bit more of a twang to it. So, not that I would say this is it's not really a southwesterny place, though.
Yeah, unless you're running for president and you really want to win those caucuses, though, like you never need to say Nevada.
Right.
People will know what you mean by Nevada.
Yeah. They'll be like, oh, that one place that... I don't hate Nevada. I think Nevada is actually pretty great.
I mean,
I don't like Las Vegas. I hate Vegas, but like...
So you hate
Tahoe,
like half the population
gorgeous.
of the state?
I was going to say, what else is there?
The nature in Nevada, Nevada, the other one, whichever one's the right one, is nice.
The right one is Nevada.
Like I said, like Lake Tahoe is beautiful. They've got lots of cool mountains and like animals and shit. But
how do you feel about Reno?
I don't hate Reno. It's like it's one of those cities. I think Reno reminds me a lot of like a city like Jersey City maybe 15 years ago, where they're like, we're getting it together. And, in the future, maybe it will be together. But like you can find good restaurants and stuff. And I love Reno 911. It was one of my favorite shows back in the day. And still was when it was on Quibi. You guys remember that?
Oh my god, that was
Quibi
shows. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So anything connected to Quibi in even the most tangential way is pretty good. This could have been on Quibi.
I was thinking that because I now watch all these bad movies through that lens because I brought up that point.
Whoa, DJ, don't spoil the people on your opinion.
Apologies. I will just say that maybe it's always a compelling thought. Could it be a Quibi movie? I always find it to be like a compelling thought.
I don't think this one could be, because
you're probably right.
In any given 10 minutes of this movie, I don't think anything interesting has happened.
Yeah, that's fair. But don't spoil the people, Diggins.
Sorry.
That's what they're here for. First, we have to talk about the news or whatever.
We do have to talk about the news, and big news this week. Speaking of movies where interesting things happen, and we know what they are, at least some of them, especially confirmed by this trailer. Yeah, we got our first look. Thank God. And a lot of people online, and I saw on Twitter and in the Discord, were like, where is this Sonic trailer? Like every other movie that's coming out around this time, the trailers have been out for a while, which I do think is like a little much for some of these. Like you don't need a 6-month release window, but or like run up. But we finally saw the trailer for Sonic 3, and I don't think there's a subheading or like anything like Shadow's Revenge or something like that, right?
Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Keep it simple.
Just Sonic 3.
Yeah, I mean 2 was just Sonic 2, right? They didn't give it a subtitle.
Yeah. Well, what are the games? Did the games ever start getting subtitles like in the early ones?
I don't think there was ever like subtitle. It's just like Sonic Adventure, Sonic Rivals, Sonic Underground. No, Sonic Underground was the TV show.
Yeah. No, like the original games were Sonic, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
Knuckles solo game where he does bowling stuff. That was a thing, right?
About Knuckles Chaotix?
Maybe. I watched the Knuckles show with him and Adam Pally, and it's surprisingly bowling focused. So
is it any good?
It's okay. It's not. There's some parts of it that are good. I think it's kind of fun. It's like completely pointless in that I'm sure none of the lore will matter. But like it's got some of what I think the Sonic movies are good at, which we'll talk about, is like it's got a kind of silly Looney Tunesy humor at times that is a little entertaining. What's his name's in it? Kid Cudi is like one of the villains, and I think like the villain thing is kind of fun. I do think, if anything, the parts that really rely on like relatable bowling humor is maybe where it falls apart. The same way that like the Sonic movies aren't great when they get really into the cop stuff. But when they do like Sonic stuff or Eggman stuff, it kind of works. So yeah, I don't think it's terrible. What's his name's the bad guy, the Hound, and I don't know if he's a existing Knuckles character. I can't remember what his name is, but he's just like another Robotnik. So that's fun. Oh, and it has, what's great about it? It has that one moment that's in every single one of these now, every trailer, and it's in the trailer for Knuckles. So if you want to see it, you don't have to, because here's what it is: where a very confident Sonic character goes, I don't give a shit about this new bad guy. I got this. And then they go and do a punch, but then the bad guy catches their punch. This was, yeah.
Whoa.
Love that move in the Sonic trailers.
I saw a tweet about this. It was like, what is the deep lore where Shadow turning Knuckles' wrist in the correct direction is like, ah!
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you watch it, he turns it like a doorknob, but like, in the correct way. He doesn't like bend his wrist the other way. He just like turns it as your wrist turns.
Yeah.
It's like,
that's a good question.
Yeah.
His Knuckles have like little straight arms that can't bend at all?
He's using chaos control to also alter every cell in Knuckles' body and cause him immense pain, obviously.
Yes. So let's talk about this Sonic trailer. What do you guys think? And our opinion of the Sonic games or movies, and well, games not necessarily, but movies is like they've gotten progressively better.
Yeah.
And this one, if it follows that trend, seems like it could be pretty cool.
And Nando thinks he could beat the giant egg robo at the end of Sonic 2. Let's not forget that.
That is true. You're on the record.
Yeah, absolutely. With everything that Sonic is doing and what the robot seems to be capable of doing, absolutely. You can beat it you need a truck or something, but it's doable. Because you just tip it over. It's like any of these fucking things. Like, I do think he's got robots in this one that I'm like, well, you just can't tip that over. That's a little tricky. But that thing you could tip right over.
How tippable is the robot? That's always the question.
Yeah. And that's why Eggman now, he's got a little crab. The hardest thing to tip. The perfect ultimate life form, as some people say. Although some people say other things are the ultimate life form. Yeah. But yeah, so Diggins, CJ, what'd you think of the trailer?
I mean, it confirmed the most important thing for me, which is that millions of American children are going to watch a little girl be executed by armed agents of the United States government.
See is very generous. They might not see much, but
It's a good question. Yeah, how much do you think they will see?
I think we're going to watch the bullet tear through her brain in real time on screen.
Yeah, it's going to be like a fucking John Woo where we're going to see it from multiple angles too. It's going to, we're just going to spend so much time with it.
Yeah, we're going to see Shadow like in his little tube or whatever that he gets launched from, assuming it's like the game. And the little girl blood is going to splatter across his face as he looks on in horror.
Dear God.
Yeah. Do you think this is going to be like Aquaman 2 where they like cowardly don't kill the little child and everyone hates it? Because that would be tough if they didn't do that. I don't
know. I feel like they got to kill the little girl.
I don't think they got to kill the little girl.
I think they have to.
I mean... Yeah, because like then what else do you have for Shadow? Well, okay, so here's the tricky part.
Yeah.
Shadow will be good by the end of this movie. Like that is just what's going to happen. It's how all of these happen, right?
Well, I don't know about good. He'll be not bad, and then by the next one he'll be good.
He'll be
I think,
like, okay, you're not my real enemy, Sonic the Hedgehog. And then he'll skate
do it like
away.
Keanu.
What was that, Nando?
Do your Keanu accent, because we know now.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Shadow is Keanu.
You're not my real enemy, Sonic the Hedgehog.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's better.
That's pretty good. Yeah. I like it. I
love it. But yeah, he will do that. And then, then that'll be the end. And then they'll talk about something in a post-credit scene or some shit like that. I don't know.
Then there will be a post-credit scene where, assuming they don't use him in this one, we get a shot of a spaceship where Black Doom is like, I'm coming to do some evil shit.
Do you think that's who's next?
Who's Black Doom?
God, I hope so.
This thing? Yeah,
Black Doom is the alien monster who gave his blood to Gerald Robotnik to help him make Shadow the Hedgehog.
Ah. Yeah.
Know the lore, Nando. Come on.
I've definitely seen this thing. Does it come from the Shadow game?
Yeah, he's only in Shadow the Hedgehog, okay. Yeah.
Well, that's the tricky part, is I've never played that, but seems pretty cool.
Who do you actually think? So I have a pitch for who I would like to see like next up. But who do you think is going to be in the post-credit scene for this?
I mean, I have a really disappointing answer, but DJ, what's your good one first?
I think next is Silver. We got to do Silver the Hedgehog, right?
We're going to do time travel? Yeah. We're going to do Sonic kissing a human woman?
Yeah, we got to do time travel now. I think that's next, right? Because, like, okay, you could go... Like, you could do Amy, I guess, but, like, let's wait for that. You know, we're not going to do any, like, the weird Sonic adventure, like Big the Cat or E101 Gamma, like Cream the Rabbit.
I don't think Big the Cat is off the table, but...
Yeah, come on.
You're right.
I don't think Big the Cat would be a very satisfying post-credit scene, though. I feel like...
I just think...
I would lose my mind.
Me too. I love it.
You need the next hedgehog, and who's the next hedgehog? It's Silver. I think it was just progressions of hedgehogs.
Now, we have to assume that everything I said that DJ didn't comment on is something he approves of.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. No bad ideas in a brainstorm, Diggins. Come on.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. I would say DJ loves Sonic the Hedgehog kissing human women. Established. Nando, what was your idea?
So I got two. One, I think, is like the thing is, like, Shadow's pretty hard to top. Even with Silver, I don't think he could do it.
Yeah, he's a power bottom.
Yeah.
For sure. He does generate a lot of power. I guess the Chaos Emerald makes it so that, like, you don't even need, like, momentum and stuff like that. So it's he'd be, like, kind of the ultimate power bottom. You wouldn't be, like, constrained by forces of gravity. I would say even, like, because I would expect something like Metal Sonic would be the thing that, like, Chaos, like, or Robotnik steals some sonic feathers or whatever the shit, quills, and then starts building a robot.
Like, I feel like because they're gonna work with Robotnik in this one, I would make it make sense where he's like got the Sonic schematics and he's building. Yeah. Well, do you think he'll be building Metal Sonic, Mecha Sonic, or Silver Sonic? Is the question.
So I just think Metal Sonic because the connection to these other guys. I don't remember what What's Silver Sonic?
Silver Sonic is just a guy who shows up in Sonic 2 once ever and never shows up again.
Wait,
It's
Silver
the same
Sonic
idea,
being
where it's-
Silver the Hedgehog or a different
Those
guy?
are different
No.
guys.
Oh.
He's just a robotic version of Sonic that you fight in Sonic 2. There's nothing special about it whatsoever.
Okay. Yeah, part of me thinks it's gonna be Metal Sonic just because that's the more iconic of them. But
Oh no, Metal Sonic. It's definitely going to be Metal Sonic if it's going to be any of them. I was making a joke about my extensive knowledge of Sonic lore.
That like the weird thing about Metal Sonic is it feels like such a lowering of stakes.
Yes,
because Shadow the Hedgehog is such a like. That's why I'm saying
he's
it's
the ultimate life form.
Right. We have to
Now
go
you
bigger.
s-
Yeah.
Now you say that, DJ, but unlike Shadow, Metal Sonic never turns good or even like non-antagonistic. He's always evil. And if we assume that perhaps they're going to go to the Sonic Heroes canon after this, if they're not going to do Black Doom, then in Sonic Heroes, that's the one where Metal Sonic becomes a nanomachine monster and like builds himself into a big old monster and like takes over Robotnik's whole operation. And he's pretty big deal in that one.
But why not do like Chaos then from Sonic Adventure?
Which one's that?
It's the big like water monster that gets more powerful every time it eats a Chaos Emerald. Yeah.
I don't know. There's something about
Sonic
the
Adventure
idea
2 with Shadow.
I know,
Yeah.
right? That's why some of it's kind of weird.
I guess Metal Sonic could be an escalation because there could just be 50 of them, right? So like Eggman could like turn
Ultron.
on his grandpa's Metal Sonic program, and then one Metal Sonic would be in a tube or some shit, and then as the lights go on and the warehouse gets deeper, you see dun 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 dun, dun and it's like, oh shit,
I got a pitch.
Problem.
I was
Sorry,
real
I was
quick.
just going to say.
Go, Diggins, go. Yours is better.
Super quick. I'm disappointed that based on the trailer, because Gerald Robotnik shows up at the end and is still alive, that we're not going to watch a video where he talks about how he hates all of humanity and made monsters to like express his pain and destroy all humankind, and then the military who's filming this for some reason is like, oh, is that everything? Shoot him, boys. And then we hear the sound of guns firing as they execute an old man.
I mean, do they let you do that? Like, if you're on death row, can you just do a little manifesto before that? Because that's,
I guess, apparently.
like, that's pretty cool. Pretty badass.
I was going to say real quick, why don't we Batman v Superman this shit and kill Sonic at the end of this movie?
Oh.
Then we just go like full nutso.
The kids will love that.
That would be great.
Can you imagine?
Well,
funeral for Sonic and shit.
From the one time it's happened, DJ, we know the one thing that will bring Sonic back to life if he's killed, it's the kiss of a human woman.
Yes. Now we get what everyone wants. Oh,
yeah.
Now I'm in on this, right? Well, even if like don't kill him, but like find a way to put him into like Kryptonian hypersleep. Like Sonic, it's like knocked out. It's like Sonic's in a coma. We don't know when he's going to wake up. So he's not dead, but he's like out of commission. And then he can heroically come back for Sonic 4.
Honestly, this is what they should have done with the Superman one, where they wait till the third one to kill him.
Sonic 4, where we meet Mega Man.
Well, so that's an option, right? The Super Mario come through a portal and just be like, "Hey, it's me, Super Mario." I do think there's a good chance. My depressing answer is like a portal opens and then classic Sonic comes out and is like, "Hey, we got to do a Sonic multiverse adventure or something like that." Like that one game. What was it, Generations or?
Yeah, I was going to say, that's disturbingly plausible, Nando.
Yeah, I think that's the escalation that feels like what we'll actually get.
Yeah.
Because then they can sell more Sonics, and then Ugly Sonic can be one of them, and actually this is pretty cool. I like this. He could be the villain. It could be like that shitty Scooby-Doo movie that James Gunn wrote, so it's actually cool. Where like Ugly Sonic is secretly controlling Metal Sonic from like inside of him with wires and shit.
Now, the plot of Sonic Generations does involve a big time-eating monster that turns out to be controlled by somebody else. So, again, disturbingly plausible.
Yeah. What do you think, Diggins? How do you think it'll end? Or not end, but how do you think the post-credit scene could work it into another one?
I feel like it's probably DJ's almost right. It's probably going to end with Shadow seemingly dead.
Oh, okay.
And so we're gonna get a post-credit scene where like somebody wakes up Shadow, whether that's Rouge the Bat or E1 1000 Omega. I think it's E1000. I always skip this.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Or somebody wakes him up, and then he's like, who am I? And then they're like, you're a thing that's not true, but I'm saying to use you for my own purposes. And we're like, oh man, Shadow the Hedgehog will return in Sonic 4.
Yeah.
I could see that. Yeah.
I don't hate it.
Rouge the Bat's probably like a next like logical progression. I guess that's
I think
the other
Rouge is going to
be
be in this movie. I think they've already said
I do
that.
too.
You're okay, fair enough. Well, I guess
have they?
Because she's an agent of Gun, so you know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So I think that. So you would have to have the post-credit scene be, instead of the evolution of this being Shadow's gonna join the Sonic team next time, we're gonna have maybe like diametrically opposed Sonic teams, right? Like kind of like a
search for Spock kind of thing, where we have to find Shadow in the multiverse because he's the only one that can kill Manic the Hedgehog. I'm looking at the list. Mama Robotnik
character. I don't think they even have the rights to him.
Yeah, that gets real tricky. So yeah, that's probably not what it'll be.
It's tricky, right? I think
here's a deep cut for all my Sonic heads. You know who's going to show up in that post-credit scene? Lara Sue, the Echidna. Hell yeah, baby, crossing over with the Ken Penders comics.
Yeah.
All right. I'll give you one. Diggins, you want to have a Sonic deep lore off? I mean, I would probably lose.
Let's do it. It's a contest where nobody wins except for me, who gets to watch. But everyone comes out looking weird.
Wait, Diggins. I mean, Nando, did you say Manic?
I did say Manic. Yeah, that was the one.
Do you know what
I looked up a list of them.
Do you know what you're referencing?
Nope. He was green, and his name was Manic. So I was like, oh, that's a bad guy, probably.
I know he's from the comics. I believe he's like an alternate universe Sonic.
So I know he's actually from the TV show Sonic Underground. Sonic has a brother and a sister, Sonia and Manic, and they all have different instruments.
No. We're talking about different Manics here. That is true, but the Manic Nando looked up is from the comics, who's an alternate universe evil Sonic.
There's two Manics! God damn it.
Oh, I see. They look similar though. It does seem like they're both green, right? Or,
yes, Manic.
I looked at the green one.
My Manic. Well, okay,
they're both green.
Okay, so but anyway, so there's Sonia and Manic plays the drums and Sonic plays guitar. I forget what Sonia plays, and it was from a weird TV show where Sonic's mom, or all their moms, like there was like a plan of destiny. Listeners and you guys, if you want a fun 90 seconds, YouTube the Sonic Underground's opening theme. There's never been a Saturday morning cartoon packed with more exposition just inside of the intro song, right?
If you want even more fun, look up Sonic Underground Knuckles scene. If you want to see the most animation errors packed into 90 seconds of a kid's cartoon you've ever seen.
It's an insane. It's so funny. It would be like Nando. It'd be like instead of like the X-Men theme being like with all like cool scenes, it'd be like Professor X was friends with Magneto, but then they had a falling out and he made the Brotherhood. Like that's what the Sonic Underground theme is.
I think what you're not getting here, DJ, is that they made a vow. Their mother will be found.
What is this?
Nando, it's just insanity. Like the Sonic deep lore is like fucking nuts. Like there's so many things, but yeah, Dickens is right. The Knuckles scene with all the animation errors is like priceless. It's like,
what is? Where can I find that? I have a couple of these. What does it look like?
They're like on a cliff. Knuckles is like falling.
Okay. I'm gonna find this and just have it on. I think I might have it. I mean, yeah, I feel like, well, what are the other games that everyone hates that they could do? The Werewolf Sonic? Isn't he a Knight of the Round Table at some point?
06, Sonic 06. That's like the first bout Hall of Fame for terribleness.
Yeah.
What about the new one where he
Sonic
like
kisses a human woman?
Yeah. What about the new one where he goes to a big empty field or something with a rail and grinds it?
Oh yeah, the open world Sonic. What was it? It was Legend of Zelda, the one everyone likes, but for Sonic. It's that one.
What was that called? I forgot that came out.
It's like the most
Sonic
recent
Legends or something like that.
Oh god.
No, it was. God, it could be anything. These names are so generic these days. Sonic Outlaws, Sonic, Ultimatum,
Frontiers, Sonic Frontiers.
That was it.
That's not a bad name.
I don't think I heard anything about that game after it came out.
I know, like every video game that comes out nowadays, including Star Wars Outlaws, it just released with a ton of bugs and did not work, but then they probably nailed it 6 months later. That's my guess. I'm not saying this is true. I'm just telling you what my guess is.
No, I've heard the same thing, is that it's,
I know that there's the Sonic Boom game is extremely bad, but people say that Sonic Boom cartoon is pretty good.
Yeah, every time I see it, like, I hated the design of it, but every time I see a clip from it, I'm like, this is pretty funny. Like, I could watch this show. So
Silver. That's my guess. I'm going.
All right. Yeah, I mean, we'll find out soon. This will be a December thing. This is coming out against something. Do you guys? Is it Wicked? I think, or something like that.
Mufasa.
Oh, Mufasa.
Oh, Mufasa. Yeah. Which one do you think is going to be better? I mean, obviously this, but like this. Will it make more money? Will it be reviewed better?
I don't know. Like, this will. It's weird.
This will be reviewed better, but make less money.
Yeah, I agree. And it'll be loved more. I just think it's crazy that, like, if you had told me when the first trailer with Ugly Sonic came out for the original Sonic the Hedgehog movie, it's like, they're gonna get this right, and then there's gonna be like 17 more of these things. It's gonna spawn a franchise, and it's gonna have Idris Elba and Keanu Reeves, and I would have been like, you're fucking crazy. We gotta figure out what psychedelics did you take. Are you going to be okay? Yeah. Do we need to get you to a hospital? Like, it's crazy where we started and now where we are. And I assume we're going to get just one of these every 2 years now.
I think the craziest part of it is that these are the only movies Jim Carrey makes now. He retired right? And then he just makes Sonic movies. Like, and it seems like he has fun, and I think he's pretty good in them. Like, people like it. And he's not trying to do a fucking Majestic or any of that anymore. He's just, having fun, and I love it.
And
good for him.
It's incredible
dancing
too,
and shit.
Because like when it first came out, it's like, oh, Jim Carrey's Robotnik. It's like, oh, this isn't like the Robotnik we know and love.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, guys, but wait, we have a plan, and now like we're here. We're like full Eggman. It's crazy. It's like
he has earned his big fat belly.
Yeah, did they have this the whole time? Because like I kind of want to give them kudos because it kind of worked.
And he's going full Norbit, doing 2 roles in a single movie.
Yeah.
Let's go. I love it. Just hugging some guy, probably, right? Or hugging the air, or a man in a green suit. It's love it.
Yeah. It could be pretty good. Well, I don't know about pretty good. I think it could be. I think Mufasa could bomb. I think there's a chance it doesn't go well.
I think the problem is like people will just go see it because it's a Disney movie in December, and it's not right. Moana. Oh, is Moana 2 this year? It is,
Moana
right?
Moana 2 is this year, but it's Thanksgiving.
But that's November. Yeah. So it's not like. Well, I guess it would be like, is that gonna be all of Disney's capital right there? It's like, oh, I just spent $100 taking the kids out to Moana 2. I'm not spending another $100 right before the holidays to go have them see Mufasa, which they won't like anyway, and they're gonna play and be like, Daddy, why the lions look bad?
Yeah, do you think what about a child? Like, do you think a child would be like, Daddy, I want to see Sonic, or Daddy, I want to see Mufasa Origins, with Beyonce's daughter in it?
I would vote Sonic, right? That's my guess.
Yeah, but
we're
also
cool, but like
we're very separated from the youths at this point.
But I think there are some franchises that like ring through. Like, I think it was like I was leaving Spider-Man No Way Home, and there was like a 6-year-old coming out of theaters who was like, that was amazing. And I'm like, how do you know that was amazing? You didn't see any of the other stuff that made me think it was amazing. But like some of these franchises just like permeate in a way. And I think like Sonic is one of those.
They saw Spider-Man on the screen. That's all he needed.
Yeah, I like the idea that DJ thinks this is like fucking Parasite and just like, wait, did you get it, kid? I don't think you understood all the subtle subtext in Spider-Man 3 when all the Spider-Mans got together and pointed at each other. Like,
they didn't understand that Andrew Garfield saving MJ was very meaningful because of what happened in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. That 6-year-old didn't get that.
That's a very good point. They didn't recognize all the lines that Norman Osborn was saying from the last 2 movies, so they didn't get why they heard all the adults laughing and went, I guess this is funny or something, but as a scientist, I don't know. It seems pretty.
But then, DJ, you have to consider they also didn't realize that the Amazing Spider-Man movies are extremely bad. And so any like emotional catharsis you might be feeling for Andrew Garfield in that moment is ruined by remembering that the movies are really bad.
Nice. Put that aside. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't know. I want to bet against Mufasa because it seems dumb.
Me too.
But and this just seems cool. Like it seems like the Mufasa is a
Deadpool and Wolverine proved that you don't have to be good to make $1 billion. So
yeah, but that's the thing. It proved that if you put the guys in the costumes and do them cool, people like it. And that's what Sonic is doing.
That's an argument for the IP, that you don't have to be good, you just have to be IP. And like,
listen, I'm not saying Sonic will bomb. I just think Mufasa is going to make a ton of money.
Right, we're talking about what will do better, right? And it's like, that's the question. Is Mufasa more IP than Sonic? And I think we'll find out, right? Like that's...
I do think there's something to that. I mean, here's the thing, right? I'm going every day, not every day, but every week, I take a trip to my local Target and look at the toy aisle to see what's up, what the kids like. A lot of Sonic toys out there, looking fun. Some have been tempting, but no Mufasa toys, and I can't even imagine what those would be. And like, what could a kid even give a shit about if there's no toys to get of it? Like, there are no kids would probably like Ruth and fucking Diamondback from the McDonald's toys for the Captain America movie that's not out yet because they just love toys more than they care about Mufasa.
Also, Nando, the graphic tee game too. I think that's like an understated way of like how into a thing kids are, but like the graphic tee game is very strong, and the Sonic graphic tee game is just murdering the Mufasa graphic tee game. I would challenge anyone to find me a Mufasa graphic tee. That's all I'm saying. For kids.
And the memes. I mean, the Sonic memes are much more of a thing for kids than this. Like,
you're not wrong.
Skibbity Sonic or whatever. He shows up. It's over.
I do.
Skibbity Sonic.
God, fucking toilet or whatever that meme is.
Why are you? Oh God. Oh God.
I think Skibbity Toilet is the first time where I'm like, I'm too old. This is incomprehensible to me. Like,
well, yeah,
I'm not. I can't do it. Like, whatever it is, it's beyond me.
Is that? Go ahead, Nando.
I was going to say Skibbity Toilet's the first time I looked at it and went, they're fucking with us. They don't actually like this. They just think it's so weird that we're all like, what is that? But there's no way they just like it without us being confused by it. So that's why I'm not engaging with it at all.
Is that how I don't know, I guess maybe like Gen Xers felt about like Chocolate Rain? They're like, well, I don't know. This not.
No, because that was good and smart and cool. So,
because the things we liked were cool and interesting and good,
right?
Unlike the things they like.
What
we
is
had
the
some really
Skibbity
dumb
Toilet
memes,
of our generation? Right? Yeah, exactly. What was the Skibbity Toilet of our generation?
Peanut Butter Jelly Time, Badger.
Yeah,
that stuff was pretty dumb.
That's a good one. Yeah. And just I think. Yeah,
I think the only difference now is there's plenty of, like, back then there weren't a ton of like corporations ready to immediately monetize anything that became popular on the internet.
Yeah. Well, now they're going to be Skibbity Toilet, t-shirts and whatever. Although, Nando, I do like your idea that they're fucking with us and like they're on their own like wherever Discords or text chains, like these fucking idiots think we like Skibbity Toilet. They're so stupid.
Yeah, what are the kids actually on?
Like Telegram? No,
Signal. Telegram. Yeah, no, TikTok,
they're on
I guess
Telegram. They're on Truth Social.
Yeah, That'd be so funny if kids took over Truth Social and just made it about fucking,
Toilet.
Chapel Roan and Skibbity Toilet and stuff. Yeah. And by kids, I guess I mean like 15 to 20-year-olds, but still, yeah, like that amount of
kids,
people.
You're right. This is just
They're kids to us.
Yeah, kids are 10 years younger than me. They're a kid.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, 1 year. I remember when AOC got elected, and I was like, that little child, what's she doing in Congress? And she's like maybe a year younger than me.
Yeah. Now they have an actual Gen Zer in Congress, and I'm like, they let them in?
Who is it? Is he cool or she cool?
Maxwell Frost, right?
Oh man, Diggins is so good.
Maxwell Frost. That guy might be in the Sonic movie. That seems like somebody that Sonic might deal with.
That's a Sonic villain. Yeah, Maxwell Frost is a Sonic villain.
He sounds way more like an X-Men character than a...
Yeah, I was going to say, well, I mean, we've got plenty of Maxwells and plenty of Frosts, so if any of them started fucking, then you got somebody. And he took her name, which I think you would do. If you married Emma Frost, you'd be like...
Oh, absolutely.
You'd go with it.
Unless you're Cyclops.
Well, I mean, technically, I don't think they got married, but if they did, Tony Stark got married to her recently, and I don't think she took his name either. Or he took her name, but it was, I think, because
you're Tony Stark. You're not taking anyone's name.
Yeah, and technically, it wasn't. He was marrying a person. He was marrying her secret identity at the time because mutants were hated and feared by robots or whatever. So
her secret identity, Emma Frost.
Yeah, people thought she was brown-haired lady who wasn't interesting. It's so funny. She was secretly a spy. Okay, spoilers for that. And eventually we'll get to
for whatever it is. Just that.
Spoilers for this kind of reason.
To not talk about Harold and the Purple Crayon.
Spoilers for a small part of a secret event, a small event that people don't really like that much. Although I don't know, maybe people do.
So you just described
all the X-Men were. Well, yeah, and a lot of these X-Men events, like either they're huge hits and everyone thinks they're the best thing ever, or you pick 2 or 3 issues and just go with those. But this one, yeah, Iron Man was part of the Resistance, Emma Frost was part of the Resistance, but she used her mutant powers to disguise herself as a brown-haired woman who wasn't hot and sexy and also doing the crimes of being a mutant. And Tony Stark was part of it because he's part of the Resistance. He was a good guy. And someone walked in on the 2 of them in a room, and he was on his knee by accident. And as cover for it, he proposed to her and was like, I'm getting married to this person, so that people wouldn't be like, why were you in a room with her? So that's how significant that wedding was. And I might be a little bit wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure that's most of it. They're already divorced.
People were like, why would you be in a room with a person if you're not marrying them?
With brown hair. Like, it's redheads or blondes. Didn't you read the rules of being a comic character created in the 1960s? Like, there's only 2 women you could want.
That's a great point.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Although I don't think there's a single brown or black-haired character who, or like love interest, who won in that era.
Yeah, I mean,
because I feel like Spider-Man had a couple black and brown-haired love interests, but MJ and Gwen Stacy were the big ones.
Yeah, I would say like there was only really one X-Men love interest that was Jean at the time. I mean, maybe Captain America. He had
team,
yeah. Captain America had his girlfriend that was not Peggy Carter, but was pretty much Peggy Carter. I think she had brown hair, but I don't know if that character was introduced at that time or was retconned. And then, well, he had Bucky, and Bucky had brown hair, and he's kind of, secretly in love with Bucky now. I don't think he was when Bucky was 10. Yeah, so that doesn't count.
Wait, is it canon now? Captain America groomed Bucky?
I mean,
oh God,
I guess it would have to be, right? Could he have not groomed him, but then Hydra, when they reset his brain, or not Hydra, but whatever, the Russians, when they reset his brain with programming, like left him open to not technically having been groomed? Like, is that going to be a scene where Captain America and Bucky kiss? And Bucky's like, is this okay? And Captain America takes out a card and is like, actually, the scientist that did your brainwashing said that no memories from before count in a sexual way. So this is fine. I don't know. Captain America should get one of those cards, though, because it seems like that's going to happen.
Oh, no.
I don't know. But yeah, speaking of adult humans that don't have a sexual bone in their body, let's talk about the new hot Zachary Levi property. Zachary Levi, man, what a weird guy in terms of just stuff of this year. What a strange fella. next week is when his charity boat cruise with RFK was going to happen. I can't imagine it's happening anymore.
I was going to say, did he have to cancel it?
I guess, right? I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's like secret.
Well, when you say it was a charity cruise, was it like for charity or was it to raise money for RFK Jr.'s campaign?
Oh, that. Yeah, raise money for RFK Jr.'s campaign. But it was like, I don't even think it was like a cruise you could win. Like, I don't think it was like you bought a ticket. I think you bought a raffle ticket to go on the cruise. Only a couple people
like that
would
guy
go
who spent $25,000 on Trump NFTs?
Exactly. And then, they
really?
never did him. Although he's got a new chance now because there's new ones out where Donald Trump is buff and whatever.
You could get a piece of his assassination attempt suit. They took the suit and they cut it up. They put it on cards.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Gosh.
It's such a... Have you guys watched the video?
I have, because I'm a sicko.
So good.
No one should watch this. People should watch Sonic Underground clips instead of that.
Look, if it wasn't so manifestly horrifying for the state of this country and the world, everything about this is objectively hilarious.
Oh, yeah. And I think it's a good sign because even during it, Donald Trump has to distance himself from NFTs. Like, I feel like the thing he's like, I made wonderful NFTs and maybe they'll be valuable. I don't know, but who knows?
People are saying
even his scanty little brain can't pretend NFTs have any value, and that's pretty bad. So he probably still sells fucking gold coins and
shoes,
commemorative
alpha brain pills and stuff.
Whatever.
Yeah, the shoes, the ugly shoes. Yeah, those were cool. Gee, remember when he got shot? And one of the things apparently was really after was his shoes. It was like, where are my shoes?
Yes,
or something.
where are my shoes? Yeah.
He wasn't wearing his classic kicks, but I bet if he was wearing those, he could have cut them up and put them on the cards too, We shouldn't joke about this. It's very sad. But speaking of, I don't know.
How did you get
delusional weirdos?
RFK, boat cruise. Do you think the cruise is still happening? They're not raising funds?
No, I feel like if it is, I don't think Zachary Levi's going on it.
Okay.
But I bet you could probably get some of the other like weirdos who are on the cruise to go. And listen, for people that are listening, if you think RFK is smart and cool, I don't know, man. Just like look it up a little bit more. You'll probably figure it out. It's not. But
get destroyed, everyone, in your opinions.
I don't know. Like, I do have a hard time being like, it's a valid belief to believe the weirdest guy ever isn't crazy and trying to, pull the wool over everybody's eyes.
Look up that story his daughter told about the whale.
Bro,
head. Look up that one.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Although, I mean, one of our favorite celebrities, Ben Affleck, is involved with her now, apparently. So, although I don't know what her deal is, if she's cool. Like, is she one of the ones who's like, I don't think my dad's cool? Or is she like is she, you meet her at a party and like, you're RFK's kid? And she's like, yeah, but don't worry. I thought it was weird when I was growing up with
focus on the Kennedy, not the RF, right? Like, I'm one of the Kennedys.
Or her dope name. One of the coolest names,
right?
Kick
Kennedy. Yeah, it's a sick name.
I think her real name is like Catherine or something, but like as a nickname, Kathleen, Jesus Christ, I had no idea this was an option.
Right? I love it.
Yeah, such a cool name.
My son Kick, just like Kick Chapman. Boom. Coming in. Although the KK, like that, is doing a lot of work, right? Like the Kick.
Yeah,
Kennedy,
that's not great.
Right? You gotta. No.
Oh, I thought you meant just the idea of throwing two Ks in there.
But then we all love KK Slider. We all love KK Slider. All right.
Who's that?
That's the little dog who plays
guitar from Sonic?
in Animal Crossing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We love him.
He could meet Sonic. Super Smash Brothers, probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Probably fought or something.
Most likely.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Speaking of movies, speaking of times when a car hit wildlife. Right, because the car hits the moose guy too, I think.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. So,
good point.
I mean, it's when he's a guy, not a moose, and when he's. I really did think one of you was going to do that as your intro. Hi, I'm DJ, and I'm a moose, or something, because like that
probably would have been better. Yeah.
Speaking of lines where someone says I'm a moose, we got a moose movie, and it's the Harold and the Purple Crayon
movie.
No, can't be.
I mean, it might be the first one we've ever done, right?
That's what I said. Is this our first ever moose movie?
We didn't do Brother Bear
movies before.
We didn't do Bullwinkle and Rocky Bullwinkle.
Missed opportunity. But
I can't think of that many other mooses.
Yeah.
Well, maybe there'll be more later. Maybe Sonic has a moose friend. I don't know.
If only.
There could, or maybe that'll be the weird subplot of the human man. You know, it'll be all about like Sonic fighting Shadow in, you know, London or whatever, and then, you know, John the cop dealing with a rogue moose that's loose in Green Hill Zone or something. Gotta give him something to do.
That's what we need.
Although
we need a more like conceptual Sonic the Hedgehog movie, right? Where it's like, what if Sonic was a person?
Yeah. What if he got out of the Sonic verse and he was actually some guy?
Yeah. What if the Sonic movie happened and we saw the beginning with Sonic in the world with the echidnas and with the big owl, and we're like, oh man, it's gonna happen, and he jumps through the portal and it's a human child.
Yeah.
It's Ben Schwartz just walking
Ben
around
Schwartz
with
on
blue
his
hair
knees.
And...
Yeah. Yeah, trying to like eat a chili dog in one bite and then getting needing the Heimlich maneuver, trying to eat some rings, going to like a store on the corner that sells like fake jewelry in like Times Square or whatever, and seeing some rings, going yum yum yum, and then eating them all, and then Heimlich maneuver again. He's mostly him eating things and getting Heimlich maneuver, but yeah, I bet that's gonna happen.
You know.
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about Harold and the Purple Crayon. You guys.
That's the movie we're doing? Oh man. I think we're an hour into this pod. This is setting a record for stalling. And for good reason.
We love Sonic and we hate this. So
yeah.
But yeah, who's in charge of the IMDb Bees and Spelling Bee this week?
It's me. Very exciting stuff, guys. Okay, so now it's time for the IMDb Bees and Spelling Bee. And for the love of God, one of you guys has to win because you can't have a tiebreaker. But some of you listeners who, might be here for the first time, and if you are, welcome. This is a podcast where, Nando said it, pop culture details, all that stuff. But now is the part of the show where we get to the IMDb Bees and Spelling Bee.
It normally doesn't take this long.
It's fine. It's fine. So this is where two of the hosts have to guess what the IMDb summary is from IMDb.com. And you must be wondering, where do they get these summaries from IMDb.com? Well, it's actually very, very interesting. So what they do is the people at IMDb, they hold one of those trebuchet competitions where you like build a trebuchet and you launch a pumpkin and see how far it goes. But how this works is, so you write down a summary for IMDb, and then the judges kind of look at them all. And then based on your summary, that's like how good of quality parts you get. So if you write a really good summary, you get the best trebuchet parts. But if you get like a bad summary, it's like bad trebuchet parts. So it's incentive for them to write better ones. Now, unfortunately, sometimes it's like, well, we got to do Harold and the Purple Crayon, but they only have one team who could do it. So then it doesn't turn out good, right? But then you have a movie like Sonic the Hedgehog, like everyone's wants good trebuchet parts, so everyone's doing it, and they want to watch Sonic the Hedgehog, but not a lot of people wanted to watch Harold and the Purple Crayon. So someone did it, but I gotta tell you guys, they got bad trebuchet parts. They got not even made of wood, probably all paper mache.
Yeah, DJ, can you expand on that? What is a bad trebuchet part? Is it something that launches it backwards, or is it like something that doesn't move at all? It's
just not sturdy, right? It's like not good material, right? It's not good solid oak, right? It's
just like you try to launch it and the thing falls apart.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's not good. And more people should have tried to watch Harold and the Purple Crayon, but I get it.
I disagree.
But yeah.
So maybe this was correct. So I have the horrible trebuchet parts summary here, and okay, guys, it's not good, and it's long. It's bad and long. It's 2 full sentences with like 2 clauses each.
Just like my life.
and I don't know, like you're gonna have to go abstract. Like don't think plot. It's not very plot heavy. So that's like the best I could give you, and a classic best of luck.
So, all right. Well, Diggins, I want you to go first because I've got some ideas, but I don't want you to take them.
All right. Well, let's just spin this one right off the dome based on the idea that it's long, bad, and light on plot.
Yeah.
Harold from the beloved children's book, Harold and the Purple Crayon. Start over. One day, Harold from the beloved children's book, Harold and the Purple Crayon, sets off into the real world with his best friends, Moose and Porcupine, end of that sentence. New sentence. Together, they have tons of wacky adventures, bringing imagination to the people of the real world, and sparking joy and creativity in the hearts of the little boy that they find. That's it. Fell apart at the end there, but whatever.
It's okay. It's okay. I appreciate it. Nando.
Okay. So similar, and you got some of the things I was going for, but I'll still say. So yeah, based on the best-selling children's book, Harold and his friends use his famous purple crayon to enter the real world, where they use the crayon, again, use the magic of the purple crayon to draw things that change the world. When a ambitious guy tries to steal the crayon, they must use all their imagination to defeat him.
Okay. Well, none of you guys got even close. And unfortunately, even with that light plot, you guys are too plot heavy. Just too plot heavy. So
I can't even imagine what less plot is.
I mean, we could do trivia, but it's really bad trivia.
Is it about vaccines? Do they let anybody write the trivia on this IMDb? Because I don't feel great about that. We have to look and see who moderated it.
Yeah, this is like shockingly bad.
RFK Jr. Oh
yeah.
Man,
Cheryl Hines. I knew it. Look at that.
Wait, what? Larry David? Huh?
Oh yeah.
All right,
David.
Here's what I'm gonna do for you folks. I want you guys to take another crack at this, but here's how we're gonna do it. I'm gonna help you out. I'm gonna read the first full sentence, and then I'm gonna do the next 3 words of the next sentence. And I just want you, because there's a lot there you could fill in. Like the second sentence is as long as some IMDb summaries. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna read you guys the first sentence, and then you guys just finish it up. All right. So inside of his book, adventurous Harold can make anything come to life simply by drawing it. After he grows up, ... and fill in the rest.
That was 4 words.
You're right. I realized that. Well, I didn't want to do after he grows, because that could have, I was like, I don't want to.
After he grows a delicious garden of tomatoes.
Yeah, eggplants. Come on, they'd be purple. Or purple tomatoes, I guess.
Plums, perhaps?
Yeah. Do plums grow in a garden? I don't know where a plum comes from. Would it be an orchard?
I don't know either.
Yeah. No one's ever found him. Nobody knows.
No one knows.
Harold draws them. A man. Yeah. But okay. Diggins, you want to do first? Take a shot at this?
I mean, whether I want to or not is immaterial. It's your choice.
Yeah. So go for it, Diggins.
Okay.
And
when
you
he
can read that. Yeah.
When he grows up, he finds a way into the real world with his best friends, Moose and Porcupine, is to where their joy and creativity spark the imaginations of everyone they meet.
All right, Nando.
Okay. When he grows up, Harold wants to explore the real world, so he goes on an adventure with his friends to meet people and draw things that make everyone happy, and he learns a lesson about friendship. Single mothers. Not single mothers. Leave that part out.
Honestly, I love Nando's, and I hope he's right.
You know what's crazy? Nando, you're so wrong, but I almost want to give it to you based off like creativity and just, you know, you did, you used your imagination, which is the point of this movie, I think.
When you think about it, he really internalized the lesson of Harold and the Purple Crayon.
Did I though? Did I really internalize the lesson of Harold? Like the book, maybe, but I don't know if I wouldn't say that's the lesson of the movie.
Maybe that's what we need. We need like book trivia.
Yeah, I bet there's some. Because, yeah, I'm kind of I imagine there is no very little trivia for this. Besides just it didn't do well.
I was gonna say the movie no one saw or cared about. Why would there be no trivia?
All right, well, I'm going to read this and then we're going to try some trivia because that's what we do here on Mostly Nitpicking. We bore our listeners to tears with incredible, tiebreakers.
Well, we're a podcast. So
that's a good point.
Yeah, we have to bore our listeners to tears.
Yeah, you wouldn't be here if you had better options.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to read this stupid thing. Inside of his book, Adventurous Harold can make anything come to life simply by drawing it. After he grows up and draws himself off the pages of the book and into the physical world, not real world. Yeah. Harold finds he has a lot to learn about real life.
Wow.
So
I almost got it with learn lessons, but but yeah. Also, he doesn't have anything to learn about real life.
Well, I mean, he has a lot to learn, but he doesn't learn any of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the terrible summary. So I have a couple questions and we're just going to see where it goes. Okay.
Great.
So this is Columbia Pictures' first major live action / animation hybrid film.
Okay, Fozzie. Go on. That's how Fozzie Bear sounds sometimes.
And Columbia Pictures hasn't done.
Yeah, that wasn't good. Cut it.
No, that's great. That's great. And Columbia Pictures has not had a lot of animation films. Or like major animation feature films. In fact, this is like the first movie of any animation that had released in over 20 years. Can you guys tell me what the last film, the most recent film they did over 20 years ago, that was like an animated film that was a feature release? Is that confusing
Columbia
enough?
Pictures, you said.
Yes,
no, I think I got it.
Is it confusing enough? Okay, great.
No, I got it.
Is it a movie that we would conceivably know the name of? Like,
yes.
Okay.
So, I mean, I guess do you both think you know it?
I mean, I've got a movie in my head, but I wouldn't say I think I know it. I think I have a guess.
I definitely don't know it, but I could take some guesses.
Let's do however this thing. Who goes first? What are the rules? Who's in charge
Diggins,
of this thing?
You can go first, Diggins.
Cool. Because I definitely have an idea. Now, when you say so, and you can not answer this if you think this is an unfair question. When you say the first animated release in over 20 years, does that mean that this movie is fully animated? This one that we're guessing?
It is a fully animated movie, yes.
Okay.
It's not hybridized. Yeah, it's fully animated.
There's a lot of like weird non-big studio animated movies from the 90s is the thing. But a lot of them, I know what the studio is, and it's not Columbia. let's go with. I know this isn't Colombia. Thumbelina.
Okay,
Oh, that's a good one. So I don't know if this isn't like I don't know what studio this one comes from, but I know it's not Disney, so that is something. But I'm not. I could be, people may hear me guess this and go, "What? You don't know that's Warner Brothers or something?" But I'll say The Road to El Dorado.
This is not The Road to El Dorado. That's actually
DreamWorks.
DreamWorks. Yeah.
That is DreamWorks. Okay. Oh yeah, that makes
Before
sense.
they
It kind of
switched
looks
to
like
3D. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
All
is
right.
Diggins right?
No, neither of you are right. So go again, unless you've run out of guesses, and then we'll have to.
No, yeah, I've got some.
All
I've got some guesses.
I can think of more weird animated movies from over 20 years ago.
All right.
For
Again,
sure.
I just don't know that any of them are Columbia. The third Brave Little Toaster movie. Brave Little Toaster Goes to Mars.
Ooh, nice.
Nando.
I was gonna say. I just had it. I remember this movie got made. I don't know who made it. The Swan Lake animated movie.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about, and that's not what it's called.
I think it's called Swan Lake.
Either way, those are both incorrect.
No.
Damn. I felt pretty
Which
good
one do you
about
think
Brave
I was
Little
talking
Toaster.
about, Diggins?
I thought you were talking about the Swan Princess.
Oh yeah, that was what I was thinking of, actually. For sure.
Oh.
I thought I was thinking of a different, like, I don't know, duck themed movie or something. I've got an idea.
All right, well, we got another round.
Well, how about this? We'll do one more round, and then DJ can give us a hint or something.
Sure.
So yeah,
Or
Diggins,
if
you got
DJ
any other
feels like giving
guesses?
us a hint now, I wouldn't say no.
Or that. Yeah.
Well, here's the hint. Is
Are
that
we
I
like
think
way off?
kinda. I think any hint I give makes it too obvious. That's I know that's not a hint. It's not actually a hint, but like I do think that's like if I were to give you a hint, it's like, oh no, that's definitely it.
The first SpongeBob SquarePants movie.
Oh, good guess. Is that it?
I'm Nando. Go ahead.
I don't know. You just did a bunch of nods, but maybe I don't know. Maybe that's not it. I feel like that would be weird because haven't they made so many more SpongeBob SquarePants movies that?
Yeah, but I'm assuming they switched
maybe
studios because
they
they are
didn't
very different than animated styles.
That's true. I was gonna say 20 years is such a specific number.
Over 20 years. Over 20
I know,
years.
but like it feels like it can't be over 30 years because then that would be what you would say.
Then they'd say that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say so I don't know which one this would be. I don't know how far they got in these. I'm gonna say like the last Land Before Time movie, whatever it is, 7 or something.
That'd be 14.
Okay.
God damn.
Those are both incorrect.
Okay.
Damn.
Let's see that hint. Maybe you can give us like a time frame that's more specific.
Well, you want me to give you the
If you're looking
exact,
for,
like it was blank years ago.
You could do that.
Give us a year.
Give you a year? All right, I'll give you a year.
Well, what's the difference between giving us a year and the exact number of years ago?
That's all right. Fine. 2002.
That makes sense. That is
That's
right around 20 years ago. Yeah, so that's
Did it help?
Tricky.
Did it help in any way?
Less than I was hoping.
2002. All right, Diggins, any guesses?
Gosh, so we definitely have heard of this movie.
Definitely heard of it. Again, I don't want to give us. All right, I think this movie is so specific, like in its like zeitgeist and impact, that I really do think that any hint, it's like, well, yeah, that's obviously that movie.
Right.
Like,
Rugrats in Paris.
How's this for a hint? And it's probably a bad hint.
Wait. I'll give a guess before you give a hint for fairness.
Okay.
I mean, because he was saying that, I'm definitely wrong.
Yeah, that's fair. I would say I had to guess, what was it? I don't remember when this came out, but like that food fight movie or something. Maybe that one. I think that was a little later though. Like that was like 2006 or 7. Yeah.
I might have to start doing like 2 more than Okay. There is a star in this movie like a big, big, big movie star who even by today's standards, you would be like, yeah, that's a movie star.
I've got a guess. Okay.
Okay.
But Diggins, you go.
Damn.
It just can't be this one.
Titan A.
All right.
That's a good one because Matt Damon was in that. I'm gonna say, okay. So when I said it, when I was like, I know what it is, and I didn't mean it like that because I was like, oh, that's a good guess.
Mm-hmm.
I have the more I think about it, the more like it can't be that because this is not a movie that's in the zeitgeist. Like I don't think I would expect your average man on the street to know this. So I'm gonna change my tune and say big star from today, like, or someone that would be considered a big star today.
Yeah, like they're not like,
but probably not Zendaya or someone else who would have been a baby 20 years ago.
Yeah, and I don't want to oversell like, oh, Brad Pitt, but like you would like, yeah, they're a movie star.
Brad Pitt was going to be my guess. I was going to guess that animated Sinbad movie, but we're not doing that. That doesn't count because I had already given up on that when you said it was a big deal.
They're still
I forgot that existed.
A movie star,
right? But it did exist.
I think this movie is hard.
As soon as you mentioned it,
I was
like,
I got an idea. Is it like 8 Crazy Nights or one of the Adam Sandler animated movies? I know he made a couple of those.
Congratulations, Nando. You have won the game. It is 8
that
Crazy
it?
Nights.
Oh, nice. Way to go.
That makes sense.
He is a star.
Yeah, right. You'd say Adam Sandler's a movie star. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know what the last movie he made is. Yeah, exactly. He makes a lot of those.
We all loved Uncut Gems, which came out at this point probably like 10 years ago or whatever.
That's true.
That's not an Adam Sandler movie. That's a movie Adam Sandler was in.
Right, but that like movie star, right? It's a movie star.
We all love, Happy Gilmore too. That movie that caused all that traffic in Jersey the other day. Remember that? That was fun.
So thank you for putting me and our listeners out of their misery. So Nando, you have won the game. So you have won the honor of being the first to tell our listeners what you thought of Harold and the Purple Crayon, the movie.
Yeah, Harold and the Purple Crayon, the movie. So I'll say this first. I remember reading this book as a kid. I don't remember anything from it anymore besides kind of what he looks like. And then he has Purple Crayon. I don't remember if the moose and porcupine are in it or if they were original characters for this. So like my Harold and the Purple Crayon lore runs pretty shallow. I just don't, I really like it, but also like, it's just not very interesting. Like this feels like a movie that would be the movie that Zachary Levi is filming in the Muppets movie that he is guest starring in. Like they would find him on the Hollywood backlot in his Harold and the Purple Crayon costume. And because it's kind of preposterous that it's even being made. And then also the idea that he's in it as adult Harold, like that's bad. And it feels like a lot of other movies, like we'll get to it, but there's other movies that it shares a lot of like DNA with that are popular and maybe good even. But like, it just feels like kind of going through the motions. I didn't like him in it. I didn't like any of the friends. That's not fair. I actually thought the friends were okay. They just weren't doing anything good. I did like Jermaine Clement in this movie. I thought he was quite fun. I more than I usually like him in these roles. I didn't really like him in like Men in Black or whatever, where they tried to make him just like a little villain. But I thought it was kind of fun here. But yeah, the movie's not very good. I don't know who it's for besides like a kid who would kind of like to see some of it and go, that guy just dressed like a baby, but he's a big giant man. And I think it's just the fact that it's been such a wild year for Zachary Levi and where he is now just makes it all kind of funny. But luckily the guy that wrote the book is dead, so he doesn't have to deal with any of this. Like he doesn't have to see his creation such tarnished like George R. R. Martin has to,
as may come up later, been dead for 50 years.
Yeah. And makes sense. So yeah, didn't really like it. I don't like hate it. There's some things about it that are very strange and we'll get to specifics, but yeah, it's not very good. DJ or Diggins as runner up, what did you think of Harold and the Purple Crayon?
So I had a distinct sense that I was a child. I was riding in the back of my mother's van. You know, she was driving us home from school, let's say.
Oh.
And as we were passing by a movie theater, and I saw the movies they were playing, and I was like, Mom, they're playing Elf. I want to go see Elf. And my mom says, No, we have Elf at home.
Yeah.
And we get home, and the Elf we have at home is Harold and the Purple Crayon.
It really is. Down to the Zoe Deschanel is also there.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
But no, it's a very derivative and ironically unimaginative movie. I think it.
Yeah.
I think the biggest problem with it is like it's a movie that's supposed to be about this kid, like this guy with the purple crayon. We can make anything with his imagination, and it's like, whoa! So the power of creativity, and he only does like vehicles and a couple of wacky monsters, and like that's the only thing he draws the entire movie, and it's not very creative.
Yeah.
It's not like horrible. I didn't like watching it. I didn't hate watching it. I don't know why. I don't think a kid would have any fun with it, or you know, they might have some fun with it because they're kids and they're easily entertained. But I don't know. I don't think it's for anybody because the jokes are like stupid and the plot is bad. So like, I don't think a parent bringing their kid to see this would be like, oh man, this classic riff on my favorite book from when I was growing up. But also, it's like a weird meta plot that's a sequel to the children's book where he goes to the real world and finds out his dad is dead. And like, if I'm a kid who loves Harold and the Purple Crayon, I don't want that. So
yeah.
I don't know who this is for. Sorry for the spoiler there that Crockett Johnson's been dead for 50 years. So yeah,
it's only a spoiler in the context of the movie where it doesn't make any sense. But like to us, a normal human, you'd just go, yeah, obviously. But when the movie starts, you're like, wait, I guess not. But yeah, we'll get to it. It's very strange.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a pretty boring movie that is very derivative and unimaginative, and I don't know why they made it. So I understand why it did bad, even though there's definitely way worse movies that came out this year. What about you, DJ?
Diggins, way worse movies that came out this month.
Yeah.
It's crazy. This was the month of this, Borderlands, The Crow. What is it, February? What is going on?
We haven't seen The Crow yet.
We haven't seen The Crow yet.
I can't take back.
Well,
I've heard quite poor things. How crazy is it, by the way?
It.
Isn't it wild that Borderlands already hit VOD? And this and Trap as well, but that one, whatever. Sometimes people kind of like that, but like they're really just throwing these movies right to the VOD as quickly as possible if they don't immediately become a humongous hit. And then Wolverine is just gonna be like, it feels like the new way that the box office works is like a game knockout, where either you take the spot of the main guy or you just die and then go straight to VOD, and then a new guy gets to try to be the new Wolverine, and then Wolverine finally gets to go to VOD. But like, if they don't do this, Wolverine will be the main movie until like, I don't know, Inside Out 3 or something.
We're just playing endless games of King of the Hill.
I still see Despicable Me 4 playing at theaters.
Oh yeah, I bet that one is gonna stick around for quite a while. Yeah. But yeah, Wolverine, I think I saw an article that was like Wolverine and Deadpool is the highest grossing movie of the week because none of the other movies are good. Like that was like the name of the article. And that's what the AI writes. So like that means it's true. Like the computer can tell this movie's not good. That's a bad sign.
Yeah, like it definitely knows.
You'd think it would love it because it's like, oh, it's mindlessly regurgitating things it's seen before. Into very familiar forms that doesn't have a spark of originality or creativity to it. This is my favorite thing. This is what I'm all about.
Right. You'd figure if anything, this would be like kind of a little scheme where the AI writing the articles about the movie would be like, well, obviously I got to prop up this because this must have been written by our fellow AI. But it almost feels like this is the movie that it's like, if I want to get any credibility, I still have to dislike this so that later when we start cranking out Mufasa or whatever, I can give that a good review and go, but I hated it. Yeah,
like when the Snyder fans originally pretended to not like Rebel Moon.
Wow, Zack Snyder should have made this though. That would have been pretty cool. Yeah. But DJ, what did you think of Harold and the Purple Crayon?
So everything you guys said, super accurate. I'm not going to do a union and be like, but guys, it's good. I want to give some personal backstory for myself on this movie. So as a kid, Harold and the Purple Crayon was one of those books that like I had my mom read to me over and over and over again. Weirdly enough, to connect this back to Sonic, I had like 2 books in my arsenal between like 4 and 5. It was this and a Sonic the Hedgehog book that was like based on the Adventures of Sonic cartoon. Did
you make your mom read that one to you too?
Yeah, just it was those.
Did she do Idris Elba voice?
I don't think Shadow was in that one. She should have done Ben Schwartz voice.
Excuse you.
Idris Elba is Knuckles. So
sorry, yeah. Knuckles. He's not in that book because it's just like the core guys, right? But she should have done Ben Schwartz voice.
Yeah.
Anyway, Harold the Purple Crayon was also in there, so I loved this book as a kid. It's like one of the reasons for like all throughout grade school, I'm like, purple's my favorite color. The moose and porcupine are in the book. Harold draws all those pies and he can't finish them, so he draws a porcupine and an anemic moose. The moose he draws, I think it's like draws a very hungry moose. So like the moose can eat all the pies. Like he draws a moose that is like a big moose. It's a moose where you see the rib cage. Like he purposely drew an anemic moose to eat those pies.
It's probably not going to be able to eat those pies, actually,
it's actually morally kind of fucked up, Harold.
Is it? Yeah. Isn't it?
Why would you create a creature just to suffer?
Well, how else would the moose eat all the pies? Anyway, so that's one thing. Diggins, who's this for? So, I was watching this movie today while Jackson was home because Jackson's school's closed for the holiday weekend, and he thought it was funny when the moose character turned back into a moose and he looked at the TV and said, "That's so silly." And then there were some other things where he would look at the TV and said, "That's so silly." And it didn't even keep his attention for the whole time. So maybe it's for 2-year-olds to look at the screen and say, "That's so silly," when something funny happens. Maybe when the wrecking ball breaks through the jail wall, that's so silly.
Well, obviously, because that scene's good. So what are you supposed to do?
Right.
They nailed it.
My takeaway from this movie is similar to my toddler's. That's so silly. This is a silly movie, and it should not have been made. It's very silly. That is important.
Have you ever shown Jackson Elf? Does he go like that one's silly and kind of thought provoking,
Right,
or does he just go, these are all silly? Like you show him fucking, Uncut Gems. He's like,
that's so silly.
I feel like the kind of message about, keeping childlike wonder in your heart is a lot more sincere in this one.
Yeah, this one feels like it understands New York being a character, This one, although, where does Harold the Purple Crayon take place? Rhode Island or some shit?
I think. No idea. Yeah. Is it Rhode Island? Okay.
Yeah, because they call it Providence a couple times, but I'm like, that seems like one of those cities. There could be a couple Providences, but we see a map.
Springfield.
Yeah. So I'm like, exactly, yeah. But I'm assuming the map is just of Rhode Island, so people would recognize it if they're from.
So yeah, what a terrible movie that shouldn't have been made, and I don't know. No one's good at it. It's weird. Zachary Levi, you may have recently seen him as Shazam, and it's like, oh, it's a child in a big guy's body, and it's like, I guess he could have channeled that energy, but he didn't, which is interesting because because I guess he's not.
He did for like one scene, it was right. Like, oh, what is this? And then he just turned into a guy.
Like, I get that he like grows up in the book, but he grows up as a child, so he's still essentially a child in a grown-up's body, and it's a role he's done before. It's not here, and it's weird. They casted him for that. It's like, oh, who do we need to be a child in an adult body, right? Zachary Levi, right? Who do we need to shepherd young child from A to B? Pedro Pascal, right? Like, this is his typecast, and he failed. He failed at theoretically the one thing we know he's good at. So I guess, I don't know if he's cashing a check or whatever, but it's just weird that he failed at this specific task built for Zachary Levi.
Well, now I'm going to look at the IMDb because I don't know who wrote or directed this, but I could see part of the failure just being that part of it wasn't good.
I do want to say, while you're looking that up, as far as performances go, I didn't really like Lil Ray Howery so much, but that was partially because he had nothing to work with, because the moose character just stands there going, I'm a moose.
I'm a moose.
Moose don't usually eat cheese or whatever, and then like making his little moose face.
Moose don't pack boxes or warehouse shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I did think, I don't know the actress's name because she's much less famous, but the porcupine actress,
Tanya Reynolds.
Yeah,
had a much more physical performance of like having porcupine mannerisms that I thought was, maybe not good. Or, it wasn't funny because the jokes weren't funny, but I thought the performance was good. I thought she really committed to the physicality of the porcupine.
Also, they made her look like Porcupine. Right, like let's make, but they didn't make Little Ray look like Moose. It's just just Guy.
Also, did she ever turn back into Porcupine as part of the bit?
No, she never freaked out and turned back into Porcupine.
I was like, when that happened, I was like, this is gonna be a thing about the movie that's important, and it's not.
Right?
It doesn't even come up again, really.
Diggins, that's so silly.
That's so silly because it's you want to be sillier, have a lot of it going on, I guess, but maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it's not worth their time. I like Tanya Reynolds a lot. She's really funny in that Decameron show that I recommended 2 or 3 weeks ago, and
okay,
yeah, she's good. I don't know why she's in none of the marketing for this. Like I remember seeing trailers for this and hearing the voice of the hedgehog, going, I think that's the one from Decameron. And then trying to watch the rest of the trailer, see if I could see her. And then I just went, I guess she doesn't come through the door because she's not in any of this. But yeah, she has quite a few scenes where she's just doing hedgehog stuff all on her own. And but yeah, so the director of this
just has her own little skits with Pete Gardner from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, an actor that I saw and was like, that's Pete Gardner. I was pretty happy somebody about else, even though he doesn't do anything.
Who's the other one? The other cop, because she also looked Carmile Gaudy, I think is her name. I guess she's not super famous, but yeah, a lot of people that you're like, that's an actor for sure. Good for them. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so this is directed by a director named Carlos Saldana. And he is mostly known for directing animated movies. In fact, almost exclusively animated movies.
Well, there we go. That's what this is for 10 minutes.
So like Ice Age, Robots, Ice Age, The Meltdown, Ice Age, Dawn of Dinosaurs, Rio 1, Rio 2, Rio I Love You, which seems like maybe a movie or something, like a little music video, Ferdinand the Bull, and then something called How to Be a Carioca, which looks like it is live action. But very little live action in his repertoire, which would make sense why he's not fully able to like direct, like a performance from an actor in person,
Yeah.
Oh,
fair point.
But yeah, two screenplay people on this one, David Guyon, Guion, and Michael Handelman. David Guyon wrote 5 movies, something called The X, which I kind of remember this poster. Dinner for Schmucks, Night at the Museum, Secret of the Tomb, Slumberland. Remember this? This is like what if Jason Momoa lived in the dream world or something?
I don't.
It didn't really hit, but it was a Netflix movie, so that's probably a big part of it. And then the other person wrote all that stuff too. So not a whole lot to like go on in terms of like, this guy's good. So yeah, the whole thing's strange. But DJ Diggins as the loser, and this, DJ, because you and me are not the loser.
You're just letting me know. Rub the salt in that. What you're doing is prepping me for all the corrections I'm gonna have to make for Diggins, like he always does for me.
So many.
That's what you're queuing me up for.
You're definitely gonna correct me a lot about this movie I saw today.
Mm-hmm.
That's by the Diggins. Way, it technically a tight 90. Like tight.
Such a tight 90. A tight 90 with like 15 minutes of credits or something like that. Like, So I was like, this can't be the end of it, and then it kept going.
Hey, did you watch the mid-credit scene? Don't discount that mid-credit scene.
But I can't remember what it was.
It doesn't matter
because I watched it more than 2 hours ago, so it's just gone. What was it?
All right.
I watched the mid-credit scene. That's the best part. Yes. Actually, I love that.
I was gonna say I'll get to it in like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So we open with the story of Harold and the Purple Crayon. He's a little boy with purple crayon. He draws things, and they're like, hell yeah, this is so cool. Him and his best friends, Moose and Porcupine. And there's a narrator man who's Alfred Molina, who they can hear, and that's not clear at first, but then they start talking to him, and you're like, I guess this is part of it.
Yep.
Narrator man tells Harold grows up, becomes an adult man, still does the same stuff. And narrator man tells him, I live in the real world and I'm like your dad, kind of. And Harold's like, whoa, that's crazy. But then he wakes up the next day and the old man isn't responding anymore. He's like, hey, old man, I have more questions about how you're my dad. And there's no answer. So Harold's like, uh-oh, something must have happened to the old man. We got to go find him. He said he lived in the real world, so let's go there. So he takes his purple crayon and he draws a door that goes to the real world. He ends up there. He jumps through, and instead of being a little animated man, he's big old Zachary Levi hopping out in a park, wearing a big old onesie. And everyone's like, Daddy, Daddy, who's this big man wearing a onesie? And he's like, don't look at him, son. He's crazy.
Yeah, which like New York or wherever he is, I guess Providence, I imagine it's a little stranger than that, you know? Like
Providence
a guy in a onesie
city.
shouldn't be turning heads.
I don't know. I've never been to Providence, Rhode Island, so I couldn't say.
Everybody's looking for Taylor Swift the whole time. They're like, where is she? She's got to be around here somewhere. They love her.
Must be it. But yeah, so he goes through and he's like, whoa, this is crazy. And then Porcupine tricks Moose into going through too. But when he comes out, he's not a moose anymore. He's Little Ray Howry. And
yep,
he gets used to it really fast, actually. And there's very little moose stuff from him for the rest of the movie, other than him saying he's a moose. But the two of them go looking around for the old man. Zachary Levi gets some new clothes, but it's just a jumpsuit, so he just gets it for another onesie, which feels like it's supposed to be a joke, but doesn't really land.
No, not
he gets
at
it from a free clothes stand. Things that totally exist.
The thing that's real. They accost an old man who's not their old man and get hit by a cane, and they're like, well, I guess we better get looking. So he draws a tandem bike, and the two of them start biking around looking for their old man, but it's not going so well. And while they're biking around, they get hit by a car being driven by Zooey Deschanel. And she's like,
also, I just wanted to ask, what does drawing a bike mean in the real world? Do you think this is something kind of important?
It turns out, so Harold still has his purple crayon. And even though he explicitly calls out that until this moment he lived in a 2-dimensional world where he never had to worry about 3 dimensions, he actually has an amazing grasp of like depth and proportion and like 3D modeling. So he just sort of draws in the air with his purple crayon, which leaves behind streaks of purple in the air, and like draws the rough approximation of like a 3D shape, and then he like taps it and it becomes the thing he drew in real life, but it's purple.
Yeah.
So he does that with his bike. But yeah, they get hit by Zooey Deschanel. Little Ray Howry briefly turns back into a moose. As we said, does not actually turn out to be important. And she's all like, oh, I'm sorry I hit you. Oh no, my tire burst. So Harold draws her a new tire, but she doesn't see it. But her son does, and he's like, whoa, you guys have magic. And Harold's like, don't worry about it. But they decide to hang out. Zooey Deschanel feels bad about hitting them with her car, so she's like, I'll drop you off somewhere.
I feel like bad and like somewhat worried that they may sue her. So she's like,
yes, she does bring that
give
up
them everything they want. Yeah, smart of her.
So while they're driving around, it's revealed that they don't have anywhere to stay because they just came from a book. So her son talks her into letting them stay above their garage for the night, which she agrees to. Meanwhile, Porcupine finally manages to open the door herself. It goes out into the real world where she becomes Tanya Reynolds was her name?
Yeah.
She's like a British punk lady.
Yeah. She looks like a character from the Super Mario Brothers movie, the live action one.
Honestly, yeah.
You're so
that's
right.
like
That's
spot
true.
on.
For some reason, Lil Ray Howley just has a brown shirt and like pants, but like, she's got that kind of outfit.
Who's like a purple like Koopa? Like it's that.
Yeah, it's the most visual.
She reminds me of like
the
Spike, like those guys. Those, you know,
the Koopa cousins. Yeah. She runs off and has her own adventures. There's a few scenes of this, but again, none of it's important. Back at the house, Harold bonds with Zooey Deschanel's son, and they make an agreement. Harold is going to try to make his mom happy because she's always stressed out and sad ever since his dad died. Oh, and the son will help Harold find his dad, the old man. So Harold tries to do some stuff like painting their house and making pies. But Zooey Deschanel's not so happy about any of it, but she's like, I gotta go to work, you gotta go to school. Goodbye forever, Harold and Moose. But little does she know, it's not goodbye forever, because instead of going to school, her son, Mel, takes them to the library where they can figure out how to find the old man. While they're at the library, they meet Jermaine Clement, or Gary, the head librarian, who it turns out went to college with Zooey Deschanel and knows Mel and has a weird crush on her that even the kid can kind of tell, like, this is weird and I don't think she's into you. But he has a big fantasy novel he wrote that nobody likes. And that will be important later.
Of
Gagar. It's not that Gagara.
Gagal Gadar.
I agree with him. It's not that hard.
No, it's not that hard. It's one of those things where like you pronounce it because you disrespect him. Like you want to show him that you don't give a shit about him. So you like fuck up there. I get that. I respect that.
Respect the game. Yeah.
One other thing about
the don't deserve respect.
Yeah, bad ones. You know, ones that like if you're trying but you're not succeeding, fuck you. Why did you even try in the first place?
No. All nerds deserve no respect whatsoever.
That's fair. One other thing about the kid that you didn't mention, I don't think until now. What does the kid have on him that he will sometimes use?
Oh, right. Right before they go to the library, Harold snaps his crayon in half and gives the other half to the kid because he's like,
that's
you
actually not
should
what I'm
have
talking
some
about.
magic.
I'm talking about something he
also
has much earlier.
An imaginary friend who's like a hybrid dragon monster thing.
Yeah.
Even though this
Dragon
kid's like
platypus or something,
8
right?
or 9.
I think.
I don't know. He says a bunch of things.
He summons it with the dog whistle, I think, or something.
Yeah.
Which is
an actual dog whistle he has for some reason.
Yeah.
It's just like pissing off all the local dogs. It's like, stop, it's painful.
Yeah.
All
like,
these dogs.
Like, even I get the idea of like the dad was like, you know, played along with it because he thought it was harmless or whatever. Like, why would he give him a real dog whistle?
Yeah.
Right.
Give him like a fake whistle that doesn't make noise.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so they're at the library. The kid uses Gary's crush on his mom to trick him into helping Harold. But Harold doesn't know anything about his dad, so there's not really anything anyone can do. But he manages to give them the idea to try to get the old man to look for them, which Harold does by drawing up a big plane and writing some skywriting, telling the old man to call him and leaving Zooey Deschanel's phone number. Now, in the process of this, Gary sees Harold drawing the plane and is like, oh, wait a second, I know this book. And he goes and runs and finds Harold and the Purple Crayon, which is in the library, which opens so many questions for me at this point in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Same.
Like, what the fuck are we doing here? But don't worry, those questions will not be answered. Meanwhile, Zooey Deschanel gets a lot of calls from random old men who are like, you were looking for me. How old a man did you want?
But also prank called by kids being like, oh, I pooped myself.
Yeah,
which,
pretty
honestly, really realistic kid prank call. I gotta give the movie that.
Like some sort of maniac, even though she has a cell phone, she answers every single one. Yeah. You never know
Yeah,
Who could call you?
You can tell this movie has been in development for a long time and was written a while ago because it's not the default assumption that any number you don't recognize you don't answer because it's a spam call.
Mm-hmm. Also, one of the older men that calls her looks like Santa Claus from I Think You Should Leave. I don't think it is, right?
I don't think it's Biff Whiff, but it does look like him.
Looks a lot like him. Which maybe he's just in style. Like maybe all the actors like, I want to get those hot Biff Whiff roles. Because the other one also looks like John Voight, and I'm like, they really got a lot of off-brand old guys.
Well, there is a Voight now that he's fully off the deep end.
Yeah, he's canceled. Well, he's still gonna do those. He's gonna do Megalopolis sequels, I guess, or something. With all the rest of the lunatics.
Anyway,
anyway,
eventually they eject from the plane when they've decided they've done enough and drop off right at beside Mel's school. And Mel tries to sneak back into school, but his bullies hassle him about how he still has an imaginary friend at 9 years old. And I'm like, bully's got a point, kid.
Yeah, good clapback. Good clapback.
Like I don't condone bullying, but like if you're gonna bully a kid about something, that seems like pretty fair game.
I'm just wondering what happens to the plane. Did it just fucking land somewhere?
It crashed into a building and killed 3 people.
Yeah, they have a new.
Why do you think they arrest him later?
I mean, that's a good point. A lot of crimes.
Yeah. So the kid is throwing elbows and actually like bashes in one of his bullies' noses, which gets them all in trouble. And so the principal calls Zoe Deschanel while she's at work, and her boss is like, if you do the stockroom good, you can get promoted, but if you don't get it good, I'm gonna fire you.
And what did she say about her job earlier?
She said she works at Ollie's, which I imagine is a real chain.
It is a shockingly real chain in the context of that this movie doesn't have a lot of nice things to say about Ollie's in the medium term.
Yeah, it implies that Ollie's is a nightmare place to work that sucks. So I'm amazed Ollie signed off on this, but okay.
It's fascinating.
But
press is bad press is the theory there.
So.
I mean, hey, I'd never heard of Ollie's until this movie, so it got them something. She says it's a store where they sell everything, which of course to the literal minded child that is Harold is amazing. But anyway, they're not actually there because it's a store that sells everything. They're just going there to find Zoe Deschanel because she'd be getting the calls from the old man. So she is, honestly, the level of mad she gets at these guys is frankly below a reasonable level.
Oh, yeah.
For everything that they do. But she's still pretty cheesed off at them. And then she gets the call from the principal, like, you got to come pick up your son because he did bad stuff. And she's like, oh, no, I got to go get my son. But if I don't do the stockroom, I'm getting fired.
Mm-hmm.
And so she asks Harold and Moose to do it for her because she doesn't have any other choice. I really thought she was going to send them to pick up the kid, but I guess this does make more... I guess in the of the 2 bad options she had, this was the better one. But
yeah, I think so.
At least the kid likes them, right? Like, I don't know. Anyway, so she goes to get Mel, and they get bored of doing the stockroom in 6 minutes, which is actually a very realistic depiction of how soul-crushing these kinds of jobs are.
Yeah.
And so instead they go wandering around the store floor, causing havoc and mayhem. He draws a puma because a guy asks for puma shoes. He makes a propeller on a little toy helicopter thing, a little like helicopter ride, so that it starts actually flying. He puts springs under an old lady's feet so she'll die and snap her neck.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it causes a bunch of chaos. Everything goes wrong. When Zoe Deschanel gets back, there's like police and ambulances outside. And Harold lets the boss know that she asked them to do her job for her, and so he fires her. And also tells them that she hates her job, which, I mean, I know this sort of manager exists who would be like, what? You can't say that. But like, of course she hates her job, dude. She's and they're working like stockroom at Target. Like, who likes that job?
Yeah, I feel like this is a trope I've seen in a lot of movies where there'll be some shitty job, but then, you know, there'll be one guy who's really psyched about it, who's just trying to, like, you know, have everybody else drink the Kool-Aid. One thing I liked about Elf is the guy who does this job in Elf also hates it, is the the manager who's like, sick of all of it. And yeah, you know, I don't know. They got this guy instead. Good for it.
Yeah. So even though she's now a single mom with no source of income, sounds like you should do music like you always wanted instead. And it's like, there's no logistical problems with that in this universe, I guess. She can just do that, and she just hasn't been, which is crazy. Because Harold gets her to start doing piano again by drawing a piano in the middle of a square, a public square at night, because it's suddenly night now. And she's still hanging out with Harold and Moose for some reason.
I don't know.
And she plays music, and people like it. And so they're like, you should do music, Zooey Deschanel. But they meet back up with Porcupine. Oh, no, sorry. They don't meet up with Porcupine yet. Gary finds them. And Gary is like, I figured out what your deal is and how to find your dad, Harold. So he goes off with them. The mom is like, we should let them do this, Mel, because I already don't like your friends, and I definitely don't like Gary, so I don't want any part of this. So this is when Gary tells them, like, oh, you're Harold from Harold and the Purple Crayon, a book that also exists in the context of this movie.
Yep.
And so your dad is the author, Crockett Johnson. And they're like, and also your crayon is pure imagination. It's magic. And they're like, whoa. But then they find Porcupine. She finds them. And they're like, Porcupine, we're all united. But the cops are also hot on Porcupine's trail because she just trashed a diner or something. And so the cops tackle Porcupine. And then they recognize Harold and Moose as the guys who wrecked up the Ollies this afternoon. So they all get arrested. And then they easily break out of jail because the cops are bumbling idiots. Again, one of the more realistic things in the movie. So they bust out of jail with the power of imagination and this crayon, this magic crayon that makes things real. So they get to... they're just running around all night, I guess. Meanwhile, the next day at school, Mel gets bullied some more, and he gets locked in a supply closet by his bullies, but he finally remembers that he has the part of the crayon for the first time in the entire movie.
Yeah, seriously.
And so he draws his imaginary friend Carl, who comes out and tries to murder these children. And then just wrecks up the place. And the teacher, or like, I think she's more like a school administrator, comes out and is like, how'd you wreck up this place, Mel? And I'm like, lady, look at this. You think a kid did this?
Right.
Like, the monster like ate part of it or something. But then the monster like hits her. And he's like, good job, monster. Carl, go invisible until the plot needs you again.
And Carl bodies her. It destroys her.
This lady might be dead.
Yeah.
Harold's gonna have to draw like a new heart or something to put in her body. And then she's gonna die later when the magic disappears again.
But hey, in that meantime, she'll have a purple heart. She'll be one of the
very good. That's one of the best ones to get.
That's right.
Not the best one, according to some people. Well, actually,
unless you run for president in 2004, then it's bad that you have it.
Yeah, no, you never should have done that.
That's true, yeah.
Anyway, Harold and Porcupine and Moose pull up on a tri motorcycle at that point, and they're like, Mel, we found out where our dad is, or like we found out who our dad is, and Mel Googles the name and is like, he lives right down here. Let's go. So they drive down to the Crockett house, which is the historic home of the author of Harold and the Purple Crayon. A thing I imagine really exists, but I don't know.
Yeah, it feels like he's probably got enough money from Harold and the Purple Crayon to do this, but I can't imagine there's that many people that love Harold and the Purple Crayon that they would go to it, right?
I don't know. It doesn't look like it's a museum with really high overhead, you know?
Yeah.
Does this museum exist in like real life?
Well, I was just saying I don't know that, but I imagine it does.
I mean,
anyway, they get there. Zooey Deschanel gets a call from school that her son destroyed the hallway or whatever, and then went missing. So she turns on her child tracking app and goes after him. Gary also sees them in the motorcycle and is like, oh, I have to get my hands on that crayon, and also chases after them in his very sensible Jeep.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, they get to the house and they're like, oh, is Mr. Crockett here? And the kindly museum administrator or whatever is like, oh, he died like 50 years ago. I'm amazed that didn't show up when you Googled his name. And so Harold gets really sad and is like, since my dad is dead, that means my entire life is a lie and magic is fake. And so everything he drew starts to disappear, including Moose and Porcupine. Oh no.
Gasp.
Oh no.
Zooey Deschanel shows up at that point and is like, Mel, you did a lot of bad stuff and you can't see Harold anymore. So she takes him away, and Mel is upset and Harold's upset, but who shows up but Gary? And Gary's like, I can help you. And so Harold drives away with Gary while the tire that Harold drew for Zooey Deschanel disappears because he doesn't believe in magic anymore, and they have to get towed.
Yeah.
Anyway, Gary's like, I can be an author with the amazing power of creativity, and then you'll have purpose in your life again, Harold. And I'm like, I don't really know that that's what this has been about, but I guess it is.
Yeah.
So he gives him the crayon. Gary immediately shackles him in a dungeon and is like, I'm going to go take revenge on all the people who were mean to me about my book. And you're like, is that what you want? I mean, I don't know. This really doesn't track to me necessarily, but whatever. Anyway, so he goes off and Mel comes and he traps Mel too. And it's like, ha ha ha, I'm going to go do some evil stuff because I'm evil.
I mean, to be fair, this does kind of track for me actually, because think about this in terms of like authors and stuff. He's a failed author, but like if any of the successful authors we know, if this happened to them, they'd of course do this. If J.K. Rowling couldn't sell Harry Potter and then she got a magic crayon, she would go ape shit, you know? She would draw a bazooka and take it right to all the critics. George R. Martin, same thing. He would get really catty, you know? They got some thin skin.
If J.K. Rowling right now got a magic crayon, I think the number one thing she'd do with it is start culling certain populations.
Yeah, she'd draw like a box with then write the word penis detector on it or something. She pointed at everyone on Earth and see.
Oh my god.
Or she would draw worlds where everyone's genitals are on the outside, you know? She'd draw a door into a separate world that she can rule.
Could be. Anyway. Yeah. So Gary runs off. Mel is like, don't worry, I still have the other half of a crayon, and you should believe in yourself, Harold. And he's like, I will believe in myself. So all his magic stuff comes back. And they can draw their way out. And in a hot air balloon, I think, that they chased down Gary with. Zooey Deschanel. Oh no, this is when. No, she must have used the Kid Finder app before too, but she also uses the Kid Finder app now. But before she goes off with her Kid Finder app, she sees like the paint on their house magically coming back now that Harold believes in himself again. For the first time, actually seeing the magic that he's been doing all movie.
Gasp.
And he's like, oh, maybe magic's real. Anyway, so they corner Gary in a park. And Gary and Harold have a crayon showdown. And by a crayon showdown, I mean, I think the most boring version of this you can possibly imagine.
Oh my gosh. It's so
It takes a long time to draw things the way they draw them.
Yeah.
You have to wave your arms
but
around.
it's just like Gary draws a weapon and is like, I'm going to hit you with this weapon. And Harold draws a mildly wacky thing that like makes the weapon not good. Like a log to catch an axe in, or a big spring so a catapult doesn't crush him with a rock. And it's like, I feel like there's so many more interesting things you could be doing with this. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
The problem with any movie where it's like limitless creativity is the power here. It's like, then you have to be limitlessly creative. Because if you're not, then it's just boring.
Anyway. I feel like the movie that this kind of feels like to me, or like the moment that this feels like, is like the everywhere, everything all at once, like kind of solve everybody's problem as they come to you kind of thing. And it's just like, I don't know, man, have it be like Pumas, and then you throw it a little cat toy or something, and it's nice. Like,
I was gonna say, but that seems good.
Yeah, that's how that worked. And then butt plugs too. That could be useful. Yeah.
But Moose and Porcupine show back up because they're real again. And they defeat Gary, or they think they do, but Gary swallows his half of the crayon. And this turns him into a crayon wizard who can wield the unlimited magics of the crayon without needing to draw. And with that power, he makes Gagara real and his incredible lance, and starts making lava show up and like really generally just messing them up. But they work together again and make a spider fly that goes in his body and fishes out the crayon. And then Moose turns back into a moose and hits him in the stomach. So he vomits up the spider fly in the crayon.
Oh, yeah.
And then they've won. There's no more Gary with a crayon. But they're like, oh, Gary, we know that you're just a sad man whose life's ambitions have failed because you're not as talented as you think you are. So here, he draws a door into the world of Gary's book, so Gary can just go live there forever. And then they're all like, all right, we did it. They go to the museum again to like look at his dad's legacy. And it turns out his dad knew that storybook characters can come to life sometimes, and knew this 50 years ago at least, and so wrote a letter that he left in the care of the museum that his house became, so that a museum curator taking care of it could one day, if you ever see a crazy man who you suspect is actually the physical manifestation of the little boy from my books, give him this letter. Which, to this museum curator's credit, she 360 no-scopes, knows right away.
Yeah.
He doesn't even say that he's Harold. He's just like, did he ever say why he created Harold? And she's just like, I got you.
Well, doesn't he meet her earlier and say like, it's me, Harold, where's my dad, the Crockett Man or something?
He comes in and she's like, oh, are you all fans? I was like, you could say that. We're big fans of Mr. Crockett.
Oh, yeah.
We were looking forward to meeting him face to face. And she's like, oh, he's been dead. And so he never tells this lady that he's Harold. She just figures it out. Even though that's insane.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it turns out there's a little letter where he's like, Harold, you're a special boy and I love you. And Harold's like, that's good. And so he draws a door to go back to his world and is like, I'll see you guys again, Zooey Deschanel and her son. And they go behind the door, and that's the end of the movie. But mid-credits scene, Gary is in his world and he finds the thinly veiled Zooey Deschanel XP from his story. And is like, Zoe Deschanel, we can finally be together. And she's like, actually, I'm dating this other wizard. Because I guess even in his own world that he wrote, he's still a loser.
He got cucked.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Which I can relate to.
Was that character in the movie, by the way, this wizard guy? Am I supposed to recognize this person?
I don't think so.
Because I cannot find them in the credits, and I'm just kind of confused about what that was. There was some joke I was missing that was funny.
Well, definitely not that. There might have been a joke you were missing, but it wasn't funny.
I guess, like, is that like Zoe Deschanel's real husband or something like that? Like,
it's like an Easter egg, essentially.
Yeah, let's look her up. Oh, it might have been. Oh well, no, they divorced. I don't know.
True love never dies.
Wait, she was married to a property brother? She was married to a property brother.
Whoa!
Yeah, one of them. No one knows which one
currently, but I don't think it was this guy.
Ben Affleck.
Oh no! Punch Kennedy, another one.
She's still engaged to the property brother.
Oh, okay. Then that's not who that was. Then it's useless. So you should all get it together. Fix it so that every time a guy comes on screen in your movie, you tell us who they are. So I'm not confused.
Do the Amazon X-ray thing where I could pause it and then see the guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Even the Amazon X-ray had fallen asleep by the time.
Yeah, that's
this part,
true.
I think.
It's like I cannot be bothered.
I don't know, some fucking guy. The Flight of the Conchords and somebody else. You know.
Yeah, you know him. You
know.
He's
the more famous guy from Flight of the Conchords. You know.
You don't need me to hold your fucking hand.
Yeah. Oh, Amazon. That's not nice. Yeah, I think that's it, right? Is there anything else?
I mean, nothing worth mentioning. And also, no, there's nothing else. I think Diggins got it all. This is a poo-poo movie.
I loved all those corrections you gave, DJ. All those hot corrections you served up because I didn't remember the movie.
Hey, chill out.
Got him.
Broseph. We get it. You're so cool.
Well, you know what else is cool? You know what this movie does have? It's begging to be wheeled. A wheel that Harold draws and goes, it's a wheel. They draw
so many wheels, yeah.
Yeah, it's a mostly wheel-based. I mean, I guess it's hard to draw circles, but I guess your circles don't have to be super, like, as long as you draw something that kind of looks like a circle, the Scribble Knots or whatever knows it's a circle and then goes, all right, this is what
what a great game, by the way.
It doesn't seem the crayon does not seem to require perfect visual fidelity from Harold.
Yeah. So, yeah, a lot of circles, a lot of things are circle based, and one of them is just a tire, like for a car. So I got some things on this wheel. I have a lot of things. We're not going to go over all of them, but like there's quite a few things because this movie makes no sense. If you drew a wheel, do you think you'd have to do a 2-dimensional wheel, or do you like? Because sometimes he has to draw a 3-dimensional thing, but sometimes you can also just draw a 2-dimensional thing, kind of extrude it. I feel like that should have worked with the wheel.
Well, when he makes the tire, it's like very like the perspective of like he makes a specific tire thickness, and like spoken or
which
hubcap everything.
I mean, really, like, how did he know exactly what a tire is and what it should look like? I know he was looking at tires there, but like, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of knowledge of the manufacture and physics of tires that he doesn't necessarily have.
Yeah, where does Harold and the Purple Crayon like come from? Does he live in the Crayoniverse or does he live in our world?
Is he from Chalk Zone?
Yeah, right. That's the question. Because how much stuff does he understand about the world from having experienced it as a baby and then never coming back, or is he just kind of going off instinct, but he's never actually experienced like seen a car?
Right.
Like
I don't know.
Book. In the movie, I would say the answer is definitely that he's not from our world, but he seems to have all the knowledge of his creator, I guess. He's one of those, but like he doesn't, but like he has some of it, I guess. I don't know. But speaking of wheel, I'm going to spin the wheel. Are you guys excited for the wheel?
No.
I couldn't be more
All right, here we go.
thrilled.
I spun the wheel. Landon, I want to dig in. Tick, 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 tick. Landon, I want to dig into this 10,000 immediate logistical questions. Let's talk about that.
So we kind of already started doing this.
Yeah, it's hard to not.
Before. But yeah, like the movie starts and we get to like he goes to the real world and he's a real man and everything, and I'm just immediately like, we're skipping over so much here. I want to know about what's going on in this situation. Like, yeah, people made this like Ben Shapiro's made this criticism about the Barbie movie where they're like, she is ignorant of the real world, but then later she makes a joke about how she can't be a fascist because she doesn't control the economy or the apparatus of the state. So what is it? Which one is it, Barbie? Do you not know anything about the world, or do you know what fascism is? I think it must be that, because you come from the liberal fascist paradise of Barbie Land, where men full of misandry, and the movie's bad. But it was fine in that movie, I think, because that movie was like interesting and fun. Mm-hmm. Whereas this one's not.
Yeah. And you could read that moment as her, and not that even it has to make sense, because I think since it's a comedy, if it's a funny joke, then I think it works. But you could also read that moment as her not understanding fascism outside of a very simple kind of textbook explanation of it. But in this, I feel like, do you think he knows about fascism? We see the world that he's created in his like little chalk zone, and it's huge. It's got cities and shit.
Yep.
But conceivably only two living beings, or two that matter.
No other people.
Yeah, no denizens
that we see.
Yeah, is this like
him, his friends, and like animals?
Mm-hmm.
But if he wanted to, one of the things I think is interesting about Harold is he does have the ability to create conscious like life. You know?
Yeah, because he drew Moose and Porcupine. He made sentient beings with his crayon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
also
raises a lot of moral and ethical questions.
Well, they had to eat the pies, right? Who else is going to eat the pies?
Mm-hmm.
So,
But do they have souls? Like if they die, did they go to hell? And then
when he briefly stopped believing in magic, was there an intangible other that like ascended to whatever afterlife exists for crayon creations?
That's a really
or did they sink into oblivion? Did they cease to exist?
That is a really
Are
good
the Moose
question.
and Porcupine that came back later even the same Moose and Porcupine?
Or
are they merely the collection of atoms with the memories of being the old Moose and Porcupine, but in fact entirely new beings?
It's a good point.
It's tough, man. It's tough. It's some heady stuff right there. It's some heady stuff.
Yeah,
also, my big
questions immediately raised by Harold and the Purple Crayon.
Yeah.
Secondly, how does he know what depth and proportion is? How can he draw 3D models?
Yeah. And it's weird because when we see the 2D world that he's drawing in the beginning of the book, it's like kind of what you expect from a book like this. And you're like, I guess there's like a little bit of 2D there, but not a lot. But then the movie goes, but it continued, and he goes into like a fucking, theme park ride with lots of depth and like 3D stuff. And he's swinging around on a big zip line. So like, I think he does. Maybe he like developed it over time. Like he developed a sense of it, but I don't know.
What are the limits of Harold's power?
Infinite. I don't think there are limits.
He can draw dimensions into his reality that didn't exist before. Mm-hmm. He can create sentient life. I think we are forced to conclude that Harold is a god.
And he can create non-purple sentient life, which I think is really important. It's like in the beginning of the movie, it's like if he draws a tire, it's a purple tire, whatever. But like if with the door thing, if Harold draws a door that is to like the coin dimension or something,
right?
Theoretically, he could just go there and take all the coins out and then have them, and they would be just normal coins. They wouldn't be silly purple coins. But like so in that way, I think he is pretty much. I'm surprised Harold hasn't. And I guess in this context of this, he leaves, so that's good. But like he would destroy the planet eventually, He would draw like a black hole, and then it would just exist,
I think we need the like Dr. Manhattan-esque story arc for Harold, where he realizes that he has essentially become a deity, and so he is leaving planet Earth in order to create his own life, to see how that goes.
Yeah.
If anything, you'd think that's what the beginning of this movie is like Harold just got bored with the infinite void of purple, and he's like, I want to see what else is out there. And he just does that. Also, does Harold perceive colors besides purple? I feel like if you live in the purple and white zone long enough, everything just looks like that,
He has his blue onesie, right? So that's the contrast. So maybe that helps.
Good point.
Probably. Does Harold have a penis?
And he has black hair, actually. Sorry.
Does he have a penis? Like, does he poop?
So here's the thing. Harold didn't draw himself.
Right.
Harold was drawn by Alfred Molina.
Uh-huh.
That's right.
So presumably, because we see this with some of Harold's drawings, he sort of like sketches the idea of it, and the intent fills the vacuum and like fills in all the details that he didn't draw.
Right.
So I would think then that Alfred Molina draws a little boy, and he doesn't have to draw every detail for the boy to exist in the fullness of reality. And so I think he does poop. He does have a penis.
I don't think in the 2D or whatever, in the void, he has a penis or poops. Maybe poops because it's a silly thing a kid would do. But I don't think he has a penis. But when he gets transported to our dimension, I think he does get a penis.
Yes,
because obviously he gets clothes, like, because I don't think, like you're saying, he didn't draw his little baby chest, but what's his name is able to put some other clothes on instead of his onesie, and then that's like a, so he has like a skin under that onesie. So then I want to see where Harold goes, look at this penis, like what? Why isn't he looking at it and going, what the fuck is this? Everything else on me, I kind of remember this, but that part, no, wow. And he pees purple, and everybody's like, I think he's radioactive or something, like, because he's from the purple dimension. He only ate purple food. Like, I feel like he'd be like Flamingo, who'd just turn purple eventually. But I guess maybe.
Like, what the fuck is this? I don't even understand.
You know what? Yeah. Great point. Harold draws food that is perfectly edible and seems to provide nutrition, which means Harold can solve world hunger.
And he could do it in like a really quick bullshit way too, where he would draw like besides drawing a doorway to the solve world hunger world, he could also just like draw one humongous piece of like calorie or whatever, like, and just write like all the food. You know what he could do? He could draw a big old bag, just a humongous bag with a little burlap sack and whatever, and the label says all the food needed to solve world hunger in it, and it would all be there.
It's true. Like, he could do that.
Yeah. If I'm Harold, the first thing I'm doing is drawing some sort of crayon protection unit or something, because I feel like people are going to start taking that crayon. And then I'm drawing impossible to break crayon armor, because people are going to try to assassinate me. Like Monsanto and fucking Purdue are going to go after me because I'm going to destroy the economies for them.
And then once you do that, you draw a perfect Israeli-Palestinian peace plan.
Easy for Harold to do.
Just go deliver that to the White House. Be like, here it is, finally a solution.
I think Harold could conceivably pick up a map and draw a border and write Palestine, and then draw another border at Israel, and then that would become real.
It would just exist.
Yeah, because sometimes he does things that are way more like theoretical than just like drawing the physical thing that it is, and it kind of figures it out. I can't think of what those were, but there was at least one thing that I was like, this isn't how the other ones worked. What else?
Gary draws a hole at one point, and it becomes not just a hole, but like a sucking void.
That's what it is. Yeah. And it becomes like, lava, and like it changes the entire environment. So it does seem like what happens is, it seems like this is kind of because this is all I'm thinking about these days, but it really feels like this is like how Zatanna works in DC Comics, where she does magic by speaking words backwards. So she'll say like, make him disappear or something, but she'll say like, or whatever, and then that will happen. But in reality, she doesn't need to do that. That's just how her brain like physical, like, conceptualizes her doing that. But in reality, she just does the magic. So it kind of seems like what Harold's doing is the crayon exists for him, and he can draw things, but really he can just create them from his mind by knowing what he wants to make, regardless of what he draws. Right, that's just kind of to focus his abilities.
And we know from the end of the movie that he could also at any time swallow the crayon and
become God.
He would his godlike powers would manifest in a manner in which he did not have to draw things. He could simply create them.
Yeah.
Which the crayon, what does the crayon make? Like, so hold on. If I draw a picture with a crayon, what I am doing, like if I draw it on paper, I'm putting some crayon on that paper, right? I'm not just like, it's not a pen, like not like a pen, but it's not like a stylus. It's an actual thing, which means all the pies he's drawing are part crayon, and he's been eating crayon and pie his whole life. Like he already has quite a lot of crayon running through his bloodstream, I would assume.
Well, but no, the crayon never actually runs out because it's not actually made of wax. It's made out of pure creativity and imagination. Right. So like he's not actually eating like little crayon shavings. He just, again, it's like you said with Zatanna, he's not actually drawing things with wax. It's just a focus through which he is able to conceptualize his powers so that he can shape reality to his whims.
Yeah, I think that's right. Do you think he made the move? Okay, here's a question. Here's a huge question I think about Harold that I think is maybe not incredibly relevant, but confusing to me. Harold made the moose and the porcupine, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The moose is Lil Ray Howley or Howry. I can't remember. Howry. His first name isn't Lil, right? Like that's just like he's put that all together.
That's what he goes by.
Lil John.
It's kind of weird.
Lil Bow Wow.
Yeah, right. But like, I feel like actors, you don't go like, this is Big Tom Hanks or something, like. So anyway, it's weird.
He should.
I guess we do. We do
Tom
Aquafina.
Hanks was like, call me.
He
Big
should
Tom
do that
Hanks from now on.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, so Lil Ray Howry, he is Lil Ray Howry as a moose, right? Mm-hmm. But like, whatever. Harold doesn't, know other people, but like, how does Harold make a British porcupine? Does Harold know what a British person sounds like?
Oh, governor.
That's not. Yeah,
he
like
must, because he must. One.
So like, and it's not even like, because the British porcupine, talk about the penis and stuff, like the penis doesn't exist in the void, but it does in the real world because the real world comes up with that. You could say the same thing about the porcupine, except the porcupine speaks in the void in the British accent. So it is that. Like, does Harold think about it and go, I want a porcupine and I want it to sound like the one from Decameron, and I'd be like, I want a moose and I want it to sound like the guy from Road Trip or whatever not Road Trip. What was it called? Good Road. The one with Eric Andre and him. It's pretty fun. Bad Trip. But yeah, or whatever, I want to sound like the guy for the third episode of Poker Face that everyone likes. And he made those guys, but like, and conceivably they exist in our universe too, right? Because everything from the Heraldiverse, like, I think Lil Ray Howry is around there somewhere,
Right.
Like he's a celebrity. I feel like people should be like, oh my God, it's you, Lil Ray Howry.
And so does Zachary Levi.
Yeah, but people don't do that with Zachary Levi. I feel like he's not really as big of a star as he thinks he is, Or maybe people are just embarrassed because they're like, he's
doing that RK Junior cruise soon.
Yeah. What other logistical questions do we have here?
Well, I don't understand how Zooey Deschanel just she must have recently overcame a tragic brain injury, because she just like doesn't question anything about her reality. Like the man that she just hit with her car like has a tire. She's not like, hey, where'd you get that purple tire? A color tires famously are. Like, where'd you get that? Just is like, oh, thank goodness, this saves me money and time.
Yeah. Well, I think she's just generally pretty absent-minded. We do see this in play right before that, because I think it's funny. Described like she hits them with their car, and you would assume, and this part of the scene is happening, they're riding a tandem bicycle the wrong direction down a street. Like they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
She's also just phone up to her face texting, like while she's driving the car. She only hits them because she totally doesn't see them until the last minute when the kid points them out. So like, yeah, I really don't think she's got it together. And I know it's like a kid and he's probably like a handful in general, and she's like a single mom, but like he's not like 2, like I feel like she could probably get some sleep. I don't know what I don't know. She also seems like one of those characters that doesn't have like friends or a social life. because obviously she'd tell one of them about this in the time between now and then. So like, yeah, what is she doing in her spare time? Not playing the piano, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, we know that. She hasn't played the piano since her husband died.
She was supposed to be a concert pianist, something that is like traditionally very hard to do. Like, I've never met a concert pianist. I assume because they're, it's
not that you know
hard.
of.
Well, all right, fair enough.
Yeah. Maybe one day you walked by a busker at the subway, and it was one of those experiments where it's actually a world famous concert pianist, and it's like, but nobody notices them because they're in the subway, and you just ignore those people.
Yeah.
Now that we're getting on the concert pianist thing, I also did not love the song she chose to play for fun out at the busy intersection or whatever.
The like wacky chase music so they could set the porcupine scene to it.
Yeah, like I feel like if that happened, I'm sure she could do that song, and that's a tricky song, so it'd be like kind of impressive, but it really does feel like she's like, I'm gonna show off. But yeah, you do like a fun little song because that's the atmosphere, not like a song for Bugs Bunny. But whatever. She hasn't done this in a while, I guess. What else was I going to say? What are the logistical questions were there about this universe? I don't know. Does Harold in the cartoon world have like fall damage?
I mean, there's damage, but it seems to be superficial because Moose falls from the sky and hits the ground, and like his antlers are messed up, but he's otherwise fine.
Yeah,
that's true. So it is like cartoon physics. And like, I guess I only bring this up because there's a point where Harold seems like he's like a crazy daredevil who doesn't realize the limitations of the world he's in when he's like jumping out of a plane and then making the parachute halfway through. But there's no like point where he's like, wait a second, that's not what the world is like. I thought the world was fun and silly. But I think that's more of a problem of this movie not really living up to any of the like ideas that it could have.
Yeah. I mean, he does cut his finger when he gets hit by a car and doesn't seem to know what that is, but that never comes up again.
Yeah.
Also,
that is weird.
What a teensy little wound for, getting hit by a car.
Yeah, well, she does swerve the car out. It really doesn't seem like they even got hit with the car. It seems like what happened was she jumped the curb and then they also swerved and fell off the bike.
Right.
So like, I think she's got a case. I'm sure they could sue, and I'm sure it would be more trouble than she's willing to like put up with. But like, as long as they don't know that she was on her phone, I think it's like, yeah, they were driving down the wrong side of the road, and I swerved to not hit them. So I don't know what you want me to do.
There were like a couple, like literally a handful of like funny lines in this movie, and when she's like, "I'm glad you guys are okay and not litigious," I'm like, that's a funny line, right?
Yeah.
There's, like you get like that might have been literally the only one in the movie, but there's a couple of those.
Now, I mean, Diggins, you mentioned this with your review, but I mean, it's just, I feel like by now, this is probably pretty clear to everybody. This is Elf, right? And like Zooey Deschanel is an elf.
Yeah, it's a guy from a magical world comes to the real world looking for his dad, where he meets Zooey Deschanel, who is a cynical woman who doesn't have the joy of the thing that he's all about in her heart anymore.
Yeah.
And
because of that, she no longer plays music.
Yeah,
yep.
That's right. And he is in the meantime also trying to ingratiate himself with a family where the child and parent are starting to disconnect because of that same lack of the thing that he's all about in the parent's heart. And so bridges that relationship between child and parent while also making Zooey Deschanel believe in music again. And spreading joy and creativity. And now in Elf, he does learn about the real world also eventually, whereas Harold doesn't ever, as we said. But that's the one way in which it's different. Yeah. Oh, and there's a guy who's a jerk and they don't like. But in the end, everything's okay with that guy.
Yeah, I would say the Alphaverse has like villains that are those cops, the horse cops in Central Park that are going to kill Santa Claus if they find him. But besides that, for most of the movie, there's not like a villain.
Isn't there like Peter Dinklage?
Peter Dinklage is like, he's the author that James Caan or whoever is trying, not James Caan. Who is the dad in that?
It is James Caan.
It is James Caan. He's the author that James Caan is trying to court that, what's his name, like kind of ruins the relationship with, but I wouldn't describe him as a villain. It's just kind of more of a difficult client. Like you never get the sense that he's going to have anything to do with the end of the movie. Whereas when you meet Jermaine Clement, you're like, oh, right. I was wondering who was going to have to steal the Purple Crayon from him. And now I see.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Honestly, it seems like Peter Dinklage is just there to make the elf short jokes, which, you know, they work. They're perfect.
No notes.
Yeah. No notes. I spun the wheel again. Speaking of notes, I landed on one of DJ's. This is just a super accurate arrests and jails. Let's talk about that jail scene.
Man, so I guess it's are the cops involved in any meaningful way in Elf? Is there?
Yes. Like I said, the cops are the bad guys at the end who are going to kill Santa Claus. That's a special branch of cops that. Right. Patrol the thing. I don't think he might get arrested, but I think if anything, he gets like picked up by the cops and they're like, this guy belongs to you. But I don't think he like, well, maybe he does go to jail. It's been a while since I've seen Elf.
Yeah, the same. It doesn't matter. I just love how we have to incorporate like law enforcement into these movies in terms of they're not doing the right thing. But I think at one point a cop literally tackles the porcupine and be like, "You're under arrest," and I'm like, "This is a kids movie," and it's like, is it because we need like the
gotta get prepared?
Yeah, we
gotta
need
learn
like
sometime.
Comically over the top law enforcement, like it's such a choice, and it just jumps out. But then like the jail scene is so weird. It's so weird. I can't get over the jail scene. It's
well, before we get to the jail scene, I have to ask, like, because we know what the porcupine is being arrested for breaking and entering, which they got caught on camera doing, and they look like themselves, like so everybody knows, like, yeah, that's that person, and it's like on TV. What are Harold and Moose arrested for? Why did they go to jail?
Well, because they caused all that chaos at Ollie's.
Right. So are they going to jail for like unlicensed helicopter like creation and like Puma ownership? Like
it's
something you would send the Tiger King to jail
killing
for?
That old lady.
Yeah, right.
But why? What? Like, what do the police think he's doing? Is my question, I guess. Like, what does anybody in this world like? It's not like I get the hedgehog is like because of misunderstandings that just have to do with them being people, totally. But like with these guys, it's like, do they think is he getting arrested for like not having the proper pilot's license to nosedive a plane? Like, because he's doing a lot of things that technically are illegal, but I don't think they know they're illegal. But
it is funny in kids movies. It's like they have to dumb it down to like, it's like, oh, if you did a bad thing, like maybe it's not against the law, but like it's some kind of bad thing. It's like the cops are gonna come after you. Like
I do. Sorry, you go.
I was gonna say, when in reality, it's like the way this goes down. Like you could be drunk outside a bar, and a cop's not gonna tackle you. It's gonna be like, "Hey, buddy, you gotta go home. This is a bad look." Da 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 da. Right? Like, but it's just, I guess it's a kids movie. It's got to be like you're gonna get tackled by a cop if you disrupt the peace.
I think. Well, she did do a B&E, to be fair.
And whatever happened in the diner was also somewhat disruptive, although I wouldn't say it's like fully illegal. I don't think she did anything illegal besides like causing a scene. Yeah,
the diner thing I think is something where the cops would come and just be like, you gotta leave.
Yeah, like get out of here.
But breaking and entering is like a real crime. And I think for Harold and Moose, it's probably because, like I said, that plane that they bail out of in the sky for no reason ends up crashing into a building and killing 3 people. So they're in there for murder.
Yeah, you know what this is almost like? It feels like this is it's not like obviously this movie isn't good, but like like the movie I'm gonna say that it's like it's good, but this movie doesn't do that. But like Bruce Almighty, how like in that one scene, every so often you check on the TV and it's like, yeah, there was a big giant flood because of the tides, because the moon was closer. And it's like, oh yeah, all this bullshit that Bruce Almighty is doing does have real consequences on the earth. The movie doesn't really care about them, but it does think it's fun to like talk about them. And I do think besides the breaking and entering, it would be kind of cool to be like, you know, I don't know, just talking about like the pumas that are loose in the city, or the plane that they found that everyone thinks is from aliens or something. Because
within 10
just
years,
no curiosity.
There's a population of feral pumas just stalking Providence, Rhode Island.
And they all get born with the purple collar on. Everyone. You know, like, where did that come from? But also, I guess Providence is a city with like zero crime. I don't know very much about the city, but like, are they just, do they send two detectives out to just check on something kind of weird?
They used to have a mayor who was in the mafia, so I wouldn't say no crime.
Now,
granted, that was like 50 years ago, but still.
Well, I feel like you get one mayor that's in the mafia, and then all the rest of your mayors are in the mafia after that. Like, they're just better at hiding it. I feel like that's like New Jersey, where like every third governor is like corrupt in some kind of similar way or whatever. And it's just like, once you get one, they're all kind of coming. They know this is where you go to do that kind of thing. But yeah, so what happens when they're in jail, DJ?
Yeah, so in the jail, it's like it's kind of like one of those oh no's. It's like, oh no, they're in jail. How are they going to get out? And it's like, I don't know. So obviously Harold loses crayon, but it doesn't matter because he gets it back right away. But I can't tell if the Looney Tunes aspect of this is bad, because it's like, the cops are so incompetent because, you know, they can't properly detain the magical crayon man and his two friends. But it's like, it's just so disjointed because, you know what it is? They get into the situation that's bad, and this happens a couple times, and then they immediately get out of it, and there's no tension. And I think that's like what's frustrating. It's so weird. Also, just a nitpick, he uses a wrecking ball. Once he gets his crayon back through silly means, he uses a wrecking ball to get, like, to break the hole in the building. Just draw a door. Like, he should be utilizing
door would
more
take
doors.
him to another dimension or something.
The door would take him to the prison dimension. Where he'd be stuck forever in, like, the interdimensional jail.
It just seems that doors
they have like anti-crayon cells where it's like they put you in there and your magic crayon doesn't work. You'd be stuck forever.
Doctor Strange. Yeah.
It's just doors are so powerful. It seems. So, you know, my recommendation would be to use a door.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in that moment, the two directions the movie can go in is do like a thing where Harold has to realize that the magic is inside of him and not in the crayon or something, and like imagine a way out. Or like the way you do that bit with the Looney Tunes is just like, because of their Looney Tunes superpowers, they are able to just escape from jail, but they don't realize it. So they bring the crayon back into the jail cell, right? Like, and you would do it with the porcupine being able to turn back into a porcupine like the moose can, and then just walk through the jail cell or something.
Right. Or have the moose turn into a moose and just break out that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Roger Rabbit scene where he's like, where he can only get out of the handcuffs if it's funny.
Yeah.
That's what this movie's missing, right? Is like
his jokes. Yeah,
honestly,
humor.
Jokes is a big part. So.
This is one of the other movie or moments that does have a joke that I didn't hate, though, when they escape from jail and the other guy's like, I need to get crayons. Like the other criminal. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, there's
it
moments,
wasn't very
right?
funny.
There's moments in this movie.
Do you think a human being with a regular crayon, if they believed hard enough, could tap into the essential like crayon force from which Harold draws his powers and become as unto a god?
You'd have to assume, right? Because like it can't just be that the crayon is magic. I mean, it could just be that the crayon is magic and from the crayon world, but like it's not like Harold is the only person that can use it. Like anybody could conceivably just pick it up and use it.
Yeah, right. I mean, the Gary and Mel both use it in the movie.
Yeah, I guess again because this is one of those movies where the lesson of it should be that the magic is inside of you or something. Everybody should be able to do this. Like that should be the revelation at the end of the movie. It's like all you need is a crayon, and you could fucking make a big catapult and flatten the dude with it.
But what a horrifying world that would be. That would be an entire planet of Bruce Almighty's.
I love that. I love that for them.
It'd be what else? Comic where everybody got a wish and the world instantly became a post-apocalyptic hellscape.
Yeah, I have that one here. And you know what else this movie feels like? Is The Mask, where like the bad guy wants to get the mask, and the mask gives you superpowers and stuff. And yeah, like I do feel like, if anything, the fun of this movie would be giving the crayon to other characters and being like, what does Zoe Deschanel's crayoning get you? Like, what's her imagination and stuff? You would assume, I guess the problem with this would be, it would be like the Polar Express. You'd have to believe in it, and then just because you, as an adult, most people just don't. Like it's a you know, part of your brain that just kind of naturally atrophies. But all kids could do it.
But like that's right. But then like the problem becomes like Gary can do it because he sees Harold do it and he knows objectively that it works. Like that's not childlike wonder. That's just like science.
Yeah, and he has imaginary friend, but the imaginary friend isn't real before it gets drawn. It's just an imaginary friend.
Yeah.
Also, what is this, like our 5th imaginary friend movie so far this year? What is going on with the world?
True. Another Someone's one to add to the pile.
Yeah, we got
one of us should have said this was the year of imaginary friends. We would have knocked it out of the park.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the jail scene is pretty weird. It also doesn't matter. Like nothing happens.
There's no conflict in this movie.
You can say that about most scenes of this movie.
Yeah. There's like no conflict or like intrigue or anything. There's just so little happens. It's like such a bizarre choice.
This is another one where like I would like to see a little. All we need is like they walk by a TV and we don't even need to focus on it, but the TV is reading a news story, and the ticker we see like triple homicide at the stationery store as men tries to steal all the crayons or something, and it's like that guy got out, and yeah, that's right, he was a criminal, and you know he did actual crimes. What else is fun? Oh yeah, I'm gonna spin the wheel. Landed on one of mine. Tick tick tick. Land on one of mine. Ollie's is great and or terrible. So Ollie's, you guys don't know about this place, right? So it's real.
I've never heard of it until this movie.
It's so real that when she said it in the movie, I was like, she must be saying like Arlie's or something, because there's no way they would sponsor the movie enough to be in it. But also the takeaway from the beginning of the Ollie's thing is Ollie's is a bad place to work. Nobody there really actually enjoys it. Yeah. Like I figured it was a parody of Ollie's, but yeah, Ollie's is a real place. It's like this weird kind of discount and real. It's like, I don't know what this is like. I think the pitch for Ollie's is they just get old shit that doesn't sell in places and then sell it for like stupid cheap. So like books.
They're like an outlet store, but for anything instead of just clothes.
For everything.
Right.
Yeah. And you never know what they're going to have. You just kind of show up and go, what do we got here?
That's fun. I kind of like that.
It almost is, except it's never cool thing. Well, not never cool things, but it's usually not cool things. It's like things that are less cool. I would say I've gone to Ollie's. There's one not super far from, like in like South Jersey or maybe Central Jersey. They're not any by like New York. They just don't exist around here. There is one near Providence that I think is where she works. Like I think that's a real place. It's technically in Massachusetts, but it's right across the river. It's where I buy not all of them, but action figures. They have pretty good, like whenever an action figure doesn't sell, you know, there is the term used online is peg warmers. Whatever the peg warmers are, after about a year and a half, you will find them at Ollie's. Yeah,
oh my
that's
God,
true.
What?
These but yeah, the guess what Marvel Legends you can currently find at Ollie's. You know,
God,
like
I can't even
imagine who has. They take up all the space. There's so many of them that you're like, wow, they'll never leave. What was your guess?
Kang?
No, it's way worse than that.
Worse than Kang?
You can find a Kang if you look, but you can find a He Who Remains if you look. And the Ant-Man wave did make it there, but honestly, like those kind of sold. You could find some people from the Ant-Man wave, but not as many as you'd expect.
So, gosh, what? The Monica Rambeau from the Marvels.
Some of those, yeah, a few of them, but other than not a ton, which is a bummer because I wanted some of the ones from that line. It's a good line. It's got Marvel Boy in it. But no, go back a little bit further. What's the Marvel thing? And they made a lot of action figures for, and they are eating up shelf space at your local Ollie's. Perhaps unfairly so, you know? Maybe they deserved a little better.
It's not like the Captain Falcon stuff that was too early. Like it's not bad, right? Like
That's another one where you can find, like a Bucky or a US agent, but that's not the guys. And I will say like Thor Love and Thunder, pretty good showing. Some of the Black Panther figures that nobody really likes, like Martin Freeman, pretty good showing. But no, there is one movie that dominates. Everyone can go to their local Ollie's and pick up the full set for like $8.
Oh no, don't tell me it's Guardians 3.
Oh God, no. I wish I would. I mean, I'd have them all if I could.
Eternals.
Okay, good.
Eternals, yes. Every single Eternal, except for the one Evangeline Jolie. Hers is kind of hard to find, but yeah, that is like...
Nando, you gotta, next time you go to Ollie's, you gotta pick up the full Eternals set.
I can't justify it. Even the space. You know what it is? If I had all the Eternals on my shelf with all my action figures, it would look so weird. Because it's like, there's Captain Marvel, one of the guys from, the Ant-Man movie, one of the guys from a Spider-Man movie, and then all 10 Eternals. You'd be like...
what clicked for me? Yeah. You were like, you get the whole set. I'm like, and then I thought when I went to Disney right after Eternals came out and filled with all the pins and action figures, they couldn't get rid of them. Like that's probably where they got them from. Disney probably sent them to Ollie's.
Yeah, you'd be surprised, but it's a shame too because like I don't think they're bad action figures. I don't think they're particularly fun, but like sometimes you go to Ollie's and you get something that you're like, oh, cool, I like that one, and it's not a terrible figure either. But sometimes, it's like a lot of Eternals. And the problem with Ollie's seems to be they just keep them there, until they are sold. They cannot get new space for new things
or biodegrade
or that. Yeah.
Isn't that like a bad business though? Because then you'll have limited cash flow because you're not like buying and selling. You're just storage, and storage is inherently expensive because you have to air condition storage.
Well, that's why these don't exist in like places where real estate is expensive. They exist in like the middle of all the stroads.
It's like cornfields. If you go to Iowa, it's like there's a cornfield and then an Ollie's.
Exactly, and an Ollie's next to it.
It's an open air Ollie's. There's no roof. It's just kind of like a stadium. You just kind of it's like a flea market, really.
The Ollie's amphitheater.
Yeah.
No, but Nando, if you go and get all the Eternals, then when Eternals 2 comes out and is the biggest, most successful movie ever made, you can sell those for
bad news.
You got to hedge.
I have some bad news. Yeah, they're probably not going to make an Eternals 2.
What?
It's a real shame. I know. Kevin Feige apparently really likes the Eternals, but they still can't make this work.
I refuse to believe it.
Yeah, it's a shame too because those actors are good. But yeah, it's
look when Jon Snow shows up in the Blade movie,
and
ignites so much interest in Eternals that the people demand an Eternals too. You're going to be eating real crow on this podcast.
Well, it is funny too, because like if you look at the Eternals cast, obviously you have some people that are just always stars. Salma Hayek, Angelina Jolie. They have some other people who like their star power has risen almost like significantly. Kumail Nanjiani is going to be Booster Gold in a DC show that'll probably be pretty popular if they play it right. And Druig is that fucking Irish guy who's in everything, Barry Keoghan.
Yeah,
and like the kids love him. He's dating what's her name, the Sabrina Carpenter and shit. Like that's like, the idea that Marvel has a Barry Keoghan property that they just could not figure out how to get off the ground is going to look pretty funny in the future.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of Ollie's, I have my Captain Carter. That's an Ollie's kind of character for you, where you're like, they aren't famous and like are popular, but I like them. But this one's a good figure, so I think it's cool. But yeah, I think it's so weird that the Ollie's is both sponsored, treated like, a place, and Harold goes there and it's like, wow, amazing. But there's no like, this movie does not like it. Ollie's is a bad place to work and a blight on society generally. It's weird.
You're going to have a bad time because you're going to hate your job.
But also, they have like really big, impressive TVs with great sound systems.
Yes. And Pumas. You can, and one thing about Ollie's that I guarantee you, The idea of telling someone at the Ollies to check if they have something in the back or whatever. He asked about the pumas. Like, if you can't find it, it's not there. Everything is in the front. You know, like, I don't know what that guy was thinking.
Yeah, why would you tell her to go to this?
Money, they built them without a back.
Yeah.
Really
why would
is.
she tell her to go to the stock room? There's nothing to stock. It's just,
it's wild.
It's loading bay to back of the store.
Yeah,
it's not even boxed. They're just unloading it, just right to the front.
Maybe this is a world where this does happen. The Eternals does hit, and Eternals 2 hits, and then they have a lot of space, so they need to get a lot of new products as quickly as possible because the Eternals were taking up 90% of the shelf space. So it's like that's. But yeah, I would recommend if anybody's around in Ollie's, I would say go check it out because they do have some stuff that's like, oh yeah, I don't hate that. Books, they've good comic book selections. What did I get last time I was there? Like this Grant Morrison Green Lantern book retails originally for $25, got it for $5. So like it's the kind of thing where you go to a place like that and you're like, oh, yeah, I'll take one of those home with me. But yeah, I just think it's insane. What else here? Oh yeah, I'm spin the wheel one more time for Diggins' thing. I spin the wheel. It just landed his question. This is a great question too. Who was narrating the book?
Yeah, so as far as I can tell, in that beginning bit, Harold is told about the real world and everything by Alfred Molina. Then he goes to bed. He wakes up the next day, and there's no old man. There's nobody narrating.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that day, they decide to go to the real world and look for him. But when they get there, they arrive at a time in which the old man has been dead for 50 years.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So either his ghost has been narrating the book for the past 50 years and has finally atoned for his sins in purgatory and ascending to heaven.
Yep.
Or time moves so much faster in the Crayon world than it does in the real world.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
Where a
Does it move faster or slower?
Time moves, I guess, slower. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
time moves so much
I think
slower.
Messages from the past, are just hitting the Crayon world.
In the Crayon world is 50 years in the real world.
Yes.
So does that mean
he's 30?
Sorry, what?
I was just gonna say, but Zach Levi's 30-ish, right? 40-ish maybe, but like I feel like he's probably trying to play 30. So did he age that much overnight?
No, because he was an adult man when he went to bed that night.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Or what? Is it like Light Years where Alfred Molina was talking, but it took longer to get to him?
Or maybe it's Light Years in the time it takes to travel between worlds, where he did leave in relative time in 1975, and to his perception, he just like boom in the door into the world, but like in actual like physical space, he was traveling for 50 years across the divide between realities.
Oh, I like that a lot.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty good. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
I mean, as much sense as any of this shit can make.
So does that mean that he couldn't get back to Earth in less than 100 years?
Yes.
From the moment we see him at the end of the movie.
If he ever gets back to Earth, the kid's going to be 100 or something.
And
that's if he decides to go tomorrow. Like, he just goes like, oh yeah, I forgot something. Unless he makes a door. If he writes on the door that skips the 50-year thing and immediately gets me to Earth, then it will work that way. He just needs to know to write that. And he didn't write that on his way out, so he's fucked. But at least he can get back to Earth a little quicker.
Yeah, I hope somebody before he left told him how long that Alfred Molina had been dead.
It's pretty confusing. Does this mean also that the Alfred Molina guy from the Alfred Molina verse, like from the Heraldiverse, not the Cran land, but from like the world where he exists, secretly wrote extra Harold and the Purple Crayon books that just never made it to publication?
I mean, we even see him like flipping through stories that we saw at the start that I don't believe are in any Harold and the Purple Crayon books. And then it gets to and then like, you know, you flip through it and like there's just blank pages after that because he never finished it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, right. I think we are forced to conclude that anything you ever commit to paper becomes real.
Yeah. Which is great.
Yeah. Why have erasers, right? Why bother? Yeah.
What book is the worst book? What book do we have to do something about? Yeah.
Oh man.
Like which book is going to create history's greatest villain?
That's a good question.
Like,
and history's greatest villain who could conceivably, because of his superpowers, travel to our world.
Is this the real Rocco's Basilisk?
Oh, no.
I don't know what that is.
Rocco's Basilisk is a dumb thing that idiots who love AI have thought of.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of this.
I mean, it's an interesting thought experiment. The people who take it seriously are stupid. The thought experiment is basically if an evil AI were to one day exist, it could, in theory, be running simulations about whether humanity would help or hurt it in the future to figure out if it should destroy humanity or not. And therefore, or even just specifically you, like the people who helped it come to exist should be helped and should be saved, and the people who worked against it should be killed. And right. And based on the fact that it's running like probably millions of simulations about this versus the one reality that's real, the chances of you being in a simulation instead of the real world is much higher. So you should actively try to create the evil AI that will kill everyone, because then it will spare you in the real world because your simulation self was helpful to it.
Oh. Fascinating.
Yep.
So, yeah. So, wait, what's the point? How does this connect to Harold?
Well, because, so in theory, if all things that are written can become true, you should write the book or draw the story about the evil, omnipotent person who will bridge the divide between realities and conquer Earth, because then he will like be indebted to you instead of the random other person who will eventually do it.
Yeah. That's a good point. Has this happened? Like, has anybody ever wrote a book that's just like, this is my book of ultimate power. Here's the character. It's me, but with ultimate power to travel in between dimensions and fuck all the characters I want to fuck in real life if I find them, you know, and then there they are. Like,
I mean, yeah, pretty much every fantasy novel between probably 1960 and honestly now.
Pretty much. Do we know what the first multiverse stories were?
There's probably an answer to that. I don't know.
It's probably Spider-Man, right?
Yeah,
it's definitely Spider-Man. Yeah. Spider-Man invented the multiverse.
I mean, Spider-Man's definitely going to show up in our world at this rate. You know, like he travels through the multiverse so quickly.
Yeah, how many comics have we made about guys who can like travel between dimensions? Like eventually one of them's going to find their way here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean Shadow and Sonic can do it in their movies, so why haven't they shown up yet? And you have to assume, because we have a world that worships Sonic and Shadow, if they could do it, they would be here by now. So from that, I just have to assume that we do not live in a heraldable world. Yeah. But yeah, pretty weird. All right. Again, one last time. Tick, 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 tick. This one lands on one of mine. Go have sex with your girlfriend. I just find the end of this movie is insane. The way that the way that it poses his perfect world. But I think the post-credit scene kind of saves it, but it's still insane. Does anybody you kind of described this, Diggins, but DJ, do you want to describe what actually physically happens on screen, what we see, like how in this moment?
So Harold draws a door to the world of Gagari, whatever his name is, and he's like, here, you could live in your world, and even though you're the villain, you get to inhabit the world of your creation. And he's like, oh, that's so great. So we see a door in, and it's like your typical fantasy world, but then who do we see? It's like a fantasy version of Zooey Deschanel, and the kid's like, is that my mom? It's like, no, it's
even worse. DJ, Zooey Deschanel is like, why does that lady look like me?
Look like me.
Yeah,
it's like, shut up, don't remember that. And
like earlier, there was the scene where we saw a picture that he had drawn of his characters,
right? And it was her.
And the kid was like, that kind of looks like my mom, or I think maybe Shazam says it, or he's like, that looks like your mom, and then Flight of the Conchords is like, oh really? And
come on.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then he gets to live there. He's like, oh, this is great, and he gets to go be in that world. And then they light the door on fire so he can never come back, which is just strange.
I mean, they don't light it on fire. The little monster thing is like, let's leave him there. Yeah.
But they don't seem sad about it. They're just like, oh, okay, it's not a problem here.
Glad somebody did it.
Zooey Deschanel did just watch this guy that she's known for years, apparently, because they went to college together.
Right.
Walk off into his perfect, ideal world where he's gonna go have sex with a clone of you for like the rest of eternity.
It's so funny.
I think I would be like, burn that door, please. Do not let him come back.
I also feel like maybe we should learn anything about this movie and not send him to the magical reality. Because what if he gets magic and then makes a door back here?
Well, and also, is he going to die there? Because what did Harold create, right? Like, are there villages? Are there animals? Can he hunt?
Well, Harold didn't create it. Harold made a door to the world that Gary created.
But this he has no skill. Like, can he live in that world and survive? Is that something he can do? He doesn't have powers in that, does he?
Well, it seems like instead of there being like a version of the main character in that world already, when he steps through, he becomes the main character.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess he'll be fine, and he'll get to have sex with his girlfriend.
Well, you would assume.
It's the mid-credit scene tells us.
Well,
yeah. Maybe if he plays his cards right, it'll work out. But I do think it's much weirder that what was I gonna say? When he goes into the fantasy world, so when he becomes Gargamel or whatever, and he eats the crayon, which kids, if you ever want superpowers, just eat a humongous crayon, a crayon the size of a cigar. Because
one of those crayons for babies, that's enormous.
Yeah, when he does that, Harold's like, "You're not supposed to eat crayons, buddy." And I'm like, "Good movie. Don't tell the kids to eat crayons." And then he becomes the Superman. But when Harold does that, or when Harold puts him through the door, he gets back like this armor that he had created for himself and like longer hair. So he becomes the guy from the universe, whatever. When we see him in the post-credit scene, he still kind of looks like that, but with the different hair, like a blonde wig instead now or something. Yeah. So I do think he can manipulate this reality while he is inside.
Okay, that's good.
Unless all he did, even before he went to have sex with the woman who he created this whole thing as an excuse to have sex to, was dye his hair blonde, which I don't know. That doesn't seem plausible. Unless she was really into blondes, but that hasn't come up yet. Right, so maybe deleted.
Maybe long hair. She seems to be into long hair. She's like, oh, I like your hair.
She does like his hair.
Yeah.
So
she was. Yeah, that is a wild scene.
It's weird that this is like the villain, like death, quote unquote. Because it's like, oh, how do we get rid of the villain? Oh, he gets to live in his own fantasy world. Like, I guess it's like the fact that they explicitly like burn the door down to we gotta make sure this motherfucker's not coming back.
Well, it feels like one of these movies where with a villain where the villain didn't want ultimate evil. He just wanted to have sex with Zooey Deschanel, and he was doing all this stuff to get to that. So they kind of figured out a way to get around it But like, obviously, if he just was able to do that, he would never have turned evil in the first place. So why even bother? I feel like that's kind of the way that it frames it.
Yeah, you heard that, ladies. If you
exactly
have sex with a guy you don't like, then if he becomes evil, that's your fault.
It seems like it. It seems like that's kind of the way that it's framed. I also think, what was I going to say about that part? I don't remember. It's great. The part where
it's so great, guys.
I think it could have been cool. This is the thing with this movie. I think this could have been kind of fun if like the movie had an imagination, because like the idea that this guy has written a shitty fantasy world that's like derivative and boring and confusing and stuff, but he's able to make it real in the real world for a little bit. Like that could be pretty funny. It's just like his cliched characters all coming to life and like saying the same thing over and over again, and you're like, oh yeah, he just brought all these guys the same. But yeah, they don't really do that.
Yeah, if we just like got a sense for why his book was bad as he's trying to bring it to life.
Yeah,
that would be funny. That would be a joke that could be in the movie.
Jokes in movies, crazy.
Yeah, it would be pretty funny if there was a specific book that he was clearly ripping off in universe, which, I mean, there's a lot of books in this universe, so it could be any of them, but like, let's say Game of Thrones, if like he has started sending his army out to get everybody and just like the first thing comes through and everybody's like, is that supposed to be Khal Drogo from Game of Thrones? Like, no, what are you talking about? And then like 8 or 9 guys later, it's just like the dragons and the White Walkers. And he's like, all right, listen, writing's really hard. Like, you got to start somewhere. You know what they say? All the best artists copy.
Steal.
Yeah, steal. Yeah. So, you know, it's not that many stories, Joseph Campbell, whatever. But yeah, I don't know, man. I did think he was kind of funny in this. I forget what the line he had was that actually made me laugh, but I think it was, oh no, I remember what it was. When he chains up the kid and Harold and puts him in his thing, and he's like, I'm gonna go have, because it's all he wants to do, I'm gonna marry your mom and we're gonna have a new son that's cool like me or something. I like that line.
He says, maybe I can draw her a new son, one who looks like me. And it's like,
yeah,
there's more pleasant ways to do that, my man.
I don't know. I think he was gonna try to impregnate her with the thing with the crayon. He's just a weird guy, but like, again, I think the rules of this magic crayon go in so many different directions. You could just do whatever you want. Like, if you threw the magic crayon into a sperm bank, a bunch of magic humans would probably walk out of it, you know? I think.
Well, we already know the crayon can create sentient life, so
yeah,
very possible.
Mm-hmm. And the one thing that I do think is very strange, things that Harold creates continue to exist when Harold has left the universe he is in. Mm-hmm. That feels like that should not exist. Like, the spider thing is still just on the loose, going to kill everybody. And his little, you know, alligator monster thing still seems to exist.
They should do something about that spider thing. That's going to be a problem.
That thing sucks. I hate that.
It's bad.
I hate it too. Very not good.
Yeah.
This movie is very not good.
Nah, yeah, it's boring. I mean, we'll never get another one because it bombed real bad. But what other, is there another one of these that you think they will try to make? Like, we've never gotten like a Giving Tree movie, right? Or like any other books from childhood that you feel like trying to crack open?
I don't know, The Velveteen Rabbit. That story about a kid getting scarlet fever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's too sad, I feel like. Less sad movies.
Honestly, they've done a lot of these, right? Like pretty much all the Raw Dolls, which is BFG, like all the deep cuts. Mm-hmm. You know, Polar Express, that got made. They're all bad, except for, I guess, like Willy Wonka and stuff. Those are fun. But so frequently, these just don't translate.
Well, they weren't meant to be movies. They're meant to be kids' books that you read as a bedtime story.
Kids' books traditionally don't have a lot of like story or plot to them because they're just little fun things to read to a child.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? There's never been a movie of that. This is for older children. You know what I'm talking about? But you know what I would love to see? A good Phantom Tollbooth movie.
Oh,
have they never made a Phantom Tollbooth movie?
Maybe they have, and it was so bad that everyone just pretends it doesn't exist, but I don't think so.
If it's the one I think it is, the movie of it is terrifying.
There's a 1970 film.
Maybe this is the one I'm thinking. I don't think this is the one I'm thinking of. So I'm thinking of something different. Oh, maybe it is. Yeah, like it's
there's a 1970
horrifying.
movie. Wow.
If it's the one that I think it is. Although there's a lot of these where like people made a movie of a book and then just made like some of the things in it, and it's so evil and fucked that like it's a whole movie of the scary tunnel from Willy Wonka. But like that's just the books we used to have kids read.
Did you ever see that? I don't even know what this is from exactly. There's some like old claymation movie about like Mark Twain taking kids on a adventure. And
that's what I think I was thinking of when I was thinking of this.
Yeah.
But
yeah, where they just like meet literally Satan, who's like, let me teach you about the nature of reality, children. You see, morality is an illusion, and like it's not like big horned devil man, which would just be kind of silly. He's like an actually kind of like creepy, weird, like masked, silvery guy who like has this sort of strange angelic voice, and it's so weird, and it is very creepy.
Dude, yeah, The Adventures of Mark Twain from 80 something is terrifying, and it is available on YouTube, so I'm sure one of these days we'll end up doing it. But yeah, it's like bad. Yeah, this is like, I think you could convince me that this is the scariest movie that's ever been made, because it's just, you never know what's going to happen.
What about The Crow? It's so
we'll
scary.
See. Yeah.
No, the first one. That scary. One, right? That's scary.
I never seen it. So it might be. Does it have the devil in it? Probably, actually.
Yeah, it has to. It's like a requirement.
Yeah. We're going to do that when that comes on VOD, probably, right? The new one. Yeah.
Love never dies, Nando.
Well, yeah. Speaking of
one of the best plays ever made.
And I just wonder, like, is Harold and Purple Crayon the worst movie we've done this year? Because we have had a year of bombs.
No, I think like If is still worse than this.
I think Borderlands is worse than this.
I think Borderlands is worse. I also think Watchers is worse. I don't know about If. I think this is right up there with If in terms of being somewhat functional, but overall just kind of boring.
Yeah, the
honestly, I think I like this more than If. I felt so generated by corporate nonsense. And this feels so dumb.
It's really tough. They're both there for me. I mean, like,
I certainly don't like either one. Yeah, it's a real race to the bottom.
Dude, Adventures of Mark Twain. I just got to play in the background. It is horrifying. Like, so scary. I hate it. Okay. Do you guys want to get to our classic segment?
Yeah, probably.
All right. DJ, do you have anything to recommend to the fine people?
I do. So speaking of Borderlands, talking about Borderlands. Hey guys, we're talking like Borderlands. You know, is not only a best-selling movie, you know, one of the best movies ever, but it's also a video game. It's also a Borderlands video game. And I was like thinking, I'm like, did I ever play Borderlands 3? And I was looking through like my like Steam library and my like PlayStation library, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I came to like a revelation. I never played Borderlands 3. So I'm like, you know what? It's like it's pretty cheap on Steam. It's like $28 for like the whole thing. So I'm like, I'm gonna download it and I'm gonna play it. And I don't know what it was, but there was like a magic there. There was like I was like, I forgot. I'm like, oh yeah, like this is a good like looter shooter franchise. And the third game's not bad. It's not bad. I don't know why I thought it was. It's not 2. Let me be very clear. But Borderlands 2 is like very peak Borderlands. But we're getting Borderlands 4 next year. I think it's next year we're getting Borderlands 4. So I'm like, to
really capture the momentum of the movie.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm like, let me maybe like slow walk this Borderlands 3 game, you know, just kind of like get back in it. And I liked it. I enjoyed it. You know, like I said, it's very affordable on Steam, so the barrier to entry is pretty low. I will say I haven't played it, but I'm pretty curious in this what's the Black Myth Wukong.
The best game ever made.
Dark Souls for adults.
Yeah. Well, like, is it
that never seen Winnie the Pooh and wouldn't even look at him if they did. It burnt their eyes.
I can't figure out if it's like Dark Souls or if it's like action adventure.
From what I understand, it's not really very much like Dark Souls at all.
Yeah.
A lot of games I feel like have some of those mechanics built in, like the rolling and the dodging and stuff. And yeah. But it seems like it's more action. It seems like it's kind of Sekiro. Feels like the vibe I'm getting from it. Even though I've never played that.
Sekiro is a FromSoft game, although it's not. It is one of their more different ones.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I haven't played it yet, but it's making the rounds. It's making the rounds, guys. I don't know if you heard of this game, but I think it's going to be huge.
Really?
It's going to be a huge game.
I don't know if that's going to be huge because I heard a company we all hate has a new Overwatch thing, and that's going to be huge. I already forgot which one it is that we're making fun of because the Valve one's supposed to be okay. What's the other one? PlayStation? Is it just the PlayStation one that nobody played?
I think it's Sony, yeah.
Yeah. They love making those games, though. It's just tough because games are so hard to make now that by the time you make one, it's bad.
Well, look at Star Wars Outlaws. Did you hear the thing where you could like pay to get it early? You could like pay the $110 to get it early. But they had to patch it. And as part of the patch that came out on release day, you had to start a new game for the patch to be to work. So anything you played in that early access, just nothing, just gone.
So you get to play it again.
Yeah,
that's double the amount of Star Wars Outlaws.
Yeah, that's like a gift.
Yeah,
it's a present.
Yeah, you get to make all your mistakes instead of that. Like, you don't do them all fucked up. You don't work for Jabba the Hutt or whatever. You work for the one from Solo, who apparently kind of looks like the Game of Thrones actor, but not as much as you figure you're like, yeah, they didn't pay her for this. But yeah, she's in it. Great.
But what?
Oh yeah, you haven't played that yet, have you?
No.
Or Outlaws.
I'll probably like Black Friday because I am not paying full price for that freaking game.
I was gonna say what a bold inclusion the word "yet" was in that sentence.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah, it's definitely.
I will play it eventually because I'm a freak and I'm like, oh, it's Star Wars, but like I will not pay more than $10 for it. So however long I have to wait.
You're really waiting for what is this, Black Friday 2028 or something?
Listen,
although this is gonna take a minute.
No. With the rate that these like bad movies go to VOD, bad video games plummeting in price happens quicker than you think. Those Steam sales are like, wow, I can't believe that I can get this game for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, wasn't like Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League like half off within like 2 weeks of it coming out or something crazy like that?
Insane.
Like
a game they're still updating.
They're gonna have to because they have a roadmap. Like, it's so
for
funny.
Whom? Whom is
the people that it is for, you know? We need one whale like a Jeff Bezos or something who's willing to dump billions of dollars into a game like that and just like, it keeps going because he plays it, and it's worth it to.
It's just him though. It's just him playing it.
Yeah, I mean, you're basically describing the video game version of the Rings of Power
or Expanse. And that's like fine, you know, that's what the billionaires should be doing, is funding weird, you know, art projects that they like, and we make them.
Yeah, I can't believe Suicide Squad still has a roadmap. It's just
there's
crazy.
at least 2 more characters that are going to be added to the game, and yeah, there's like a story that is unfolding where you'd never believe it, but they didn't actually kill the Justice League or something.
What? Yeah, well, I think when the game ends, it's like you kill Brainiac, but then you learn that there's Brainiac across time, so you have to go kill every other Brainiac.
There's 13 Brainiacs, and there's enough clones of stuff that you're like, oh, they cloned the Justice League or something, so we have to find the originals or something like that. Spoilers for a game that anybody who's ever played it has already played it. There's nobody else. There's nobody who's going to pick this up, but maybe, I don't know.
So Borderlands 3, not in this category. It's a good one of these, so that's what I got.
Nice. Diggins, what about you?
So I watched a movie since our last recording sesh. It was an older movie. It was co-written by this kind of like real unknown guy. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, John Carpenter.
Oh, okay.
I actually haven't, so I don't know.
Yes, you have.
John Carpenter. You have. Well,
okay.
I mean, you've heard of movies he's made. Maybe you don't know that him.
He's the guy who directed The Thing.
Yeah.
What thing?
Good question.
The guy.
No, the
thing?
man's name.
Oh,
What's his name?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Who? What else has he made? What's like, because besides the thing, he's got like
Escape from New York.
Yeah, there you go.
Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, he just followed what's his name around with the camera, Kurt Russell, and just was like,
yeah,
you're in a park
between those two.
Yeah.
Anyway, he didn't direct this one. He only co-wrote it. It's a movie called The Eyes of Laura Mars. It's from 1978. It's a kind of like supernatural thriller slasher kind of thing. It's described in retrospect as being an American attempt at a giallo movie, which I think I talked about giallo back when I wrecked Suspiria, because Suspiria is one of the classic giallos, which are these like really lurid and cheaply made Italian movies that tended to have like really striking visual styles. So that's kind of what Eyes of Laura Mars is. It's about this woman played by Faye Dunaway who does like, she's like a famous photographer who's centered her business around like very provocative imagery around like sex and murder. And she suddenly starts having a psychic connection. Like she just sees through the eyes of somebody who is killing people she knows. And so it's about her trying to like figure out what's going on while at the same time like having these psychic visions. It's not like an incredible movie, but I thought it was like interesting and fun, and it's very much that sort of like, it's set in New York, and it's very much that grimy 70s era of New York when like Times Square was filthy and full of crime, and like the whole city was like grimy. And I think they do a really good job of like capturing that atmosphere. You could say New York is almost like a character in this movie.
Ooh, yeah, that would be fun. What about Providence? Is Providence like a character in it?
I mean, it might be. I don't think they go there, but maybe if you Harold and the Purple Crayon style drew a door into the world of the Eyes of Laura Mars and then went to Providence, Rhode Island, it would be a real character.
Yeah, you should do that.
But yeah, no, it's fun. It has a lot of like famous actors. It's got Faye Dunaway, obviously. Tommy Lee Jones is the male lead. Brad Dourif is in it. Renee Auberjonois. Real murderer's row, because it's about murder. You see.
Yeah.
It's on the Criterion Channel. That's where I watched it, and I thought it was pretty cool. So if you like those sort of like old exploitation style movies, I think it's worth watching. What about you, Nando?
Not too many big things, a couple small ones. I watched about half of that new The Killer movie that's on Peacock, that is John Woo remaking his own movie from the 90s or whatever, but with, the one from, God, she's in everything now, Natalie Emmanuel. It's okay. The Killer is a fun movie. Like, it's good premise. John Woo directs good action. I wouldn't say it needed to be made, but if you wanted to make it, go for it. A lot of French, more French than I was expecting. But yeah, pretty fun. I didn't love it, but it's fine. I also watched Longlegs this week. Also didn't love it. Didn't hate it. And just not for me. But cool and weird and yeah, strange. Love to see Blair Underwood and stuff from Malibu's Most Wanted. But the two big ones that I want to recommend, things that I'm like, these were cool. The first one, comics. In anticipation of doing a video on Silver Sable, I read what I think is the most recent comic she's been in, which is a run that's pretty recent, like 2023, called Uncanny Spider-Man. This is, again, after all the X-Men were killed or whatever and massacred and they had to hide. Nightcrawler pretends to be Spider-Man, and that's how he hides and does stuff. It's a 5-issue book by the writer Cy Spurrier, who I really like a lot of the stuff he writes. But I think that the fun of it, I'd say for most people, like myself for sure, that likes Nightcrawler, is it, like all Nightcrawler books, just everybody wants to fuck Nightcrawler. It's pretty fun. Silver Sable meets him and is immediately like, wow, you got a good neck. Wait, what's going on here? And then 2 issues later, they're having sex. So good for Nightcrawler. Yeah. It's a fun book. I think out of all of the not from the Ashes, but all these Fall of X books or whatever it was called, it's the one that I think is the most fun, and the costume's cool. I don't know. So I liked it. Also, so that, 5 issues. The other thing I want to recommend is a YouTube channel. I don't know how I bumped into this, and I'd never seen their stuff before. The channel's called Chris and Jack. I love, as a just a monster, I love sketch comedy. So I usually watch the bad ones on SNL or whatever, but some of the people doing it online are pretty good. And these guys have been doing it for a while. Like, a lot of their videos are like 8 or 9 years old. But it seems like they kind of came back recently. And also, I don't know what the deal is with them. Maybe they're terrible or canceled or something. Although a lot of the people in their videos are cool. So I'm like, all right, these guys are probably cool. But they do videos. Like, one of the ones that I'm looking at now is, I definitely know the answer to this ancient puzzle. And it's like a little 7-minute long sketch where the bit is that they're doing Da Vinci Code and the guy knows the answer, but it's not opening the thing. And everybody's like, maybe that's not it. And he's like, no, this is it. I'm pretty sure. And it's just like pretty silly. And I really, I went through most of their stuff, and I think some of them are great. I think the one that I saw first was this, the Perfect Wish to Outsmart a Genie video that they put out recently. So that probably is getting some attention, but
if only
I enjoyed
the world
them.
Where everybody got a wish had watched that video, they could have.
It's a little bit like that, and it is like in the 6th or 7th issue of it, where there's one guy who just writes a wish that's like 400 pages long, so that the genie can't fuck him over. Like this guy kind of did that. So I really like this. These guys. I'm curious how often they put stuff out, because it seems like it's once a month, but it's very well like filmed and put together. Some of them have like actors in them. They're like people you recognize, not like big ones, but like people that you're like, oh yeah, him. So I don't know. I never have a sense for like how big any of these guys are, but I would recommend them too, Chris and Jack. What are we doing next week, fellas?
The Crow.
It'll probably be on VOD by then if it's not yet.
Yeah, it'd be good. VOD would be good.
There's also another bad movie that came out this week, I think.
Yeah, the IT
Afraid.
Yeah, that's out this week, which means it'll be on VOD in a couple of days. It's currently rocking a strong 24 on Rotten Tomatoes, so that's never a good sign.
Nice.
Yeah. That we'll definitely do that eventually. Do we have anything coming up? Is there anything in like September? Saw.
Yeah, I don't know what like the Murderous Row looks like for movies.
Okay, so you got Beetlejuice, you got Transformers, then one where it's like Chris Hemsworth and stuff. Speak No Evil, the movie that's just one trailer that plays 1,000,000 times. If you guys have seen this so much times that it's killing you. Yeah. Oh, Subservience, the movie where Megan Fox is afraid. That will probably do. And yeah, that's most of it. And Megalopolis, obviously, the movie where it's not a woke movie. If we're ever talking about this, is it woke? This movie is not. But yeah, I don't know. But one of those, maybe something like that. DJ, do you have anything to plug?
Just Roses and Rejections as we barrel toward the Bachelorette finale. Also the Eliminator Pool.
Yeah.
NFL Eliminator Pool is up and running. So if you've done it with us before, you just got to rejoin the group automatically on ESPN. If you haven't done it, I put a link on the Discord that I'll make sure is pinned. And I guess we'll tweet out a link, but if you just search for Mostly Nitpicking in the ESPN Eliminator Challenge, it's an open group. Join it. Pick a team each week to win. You can't reuse the team. Last person standing wins, and then you get to pick a movie that I promise we will eventually do.
Yeah, we get to it, you know.
Won't. Who knows?
No. Well,
it's sure. No cost to you for doing it, so you should do it anyway.
It's pretty cool. And you know, like we always say, you never know. Maybe you'll win. It's not as hard as you'd expect.
And sometimes when someone picks a movie, we just totally let them jump the queue. Even though we've got a bunch of debts, we're like, let's do that one right now.
If you pick one that's somewhat relevant or just tickles our little fancies, that might be enough. Diggins, what about you? Do you have anything to plug?
One quick one, actually. There is an adventure going up on the DMs Guild, which is like the official marketplace for D&D homebrew content. It's not one I made, but it is one I playtested for, which was very fun. It's called The First Oath, a Planescape adventure. It's a pretty long and involved adventure with like really, really intricate puzzles. Is sort of is I think mechanically the main draw of this one, but it's also it really gets into like the multiverse aspects of D&D, which is so hot right now.
Yeah, I can't say enough good things about the multiverse.
But it's a really cool adventure. I had a lot of fun playtesting it, and I think you will also enjoy running it if you are someone who does that kind of thing. So yeah, on the DMs Guild, it's coming out September 1st, which it almost certainly is by the time you're listening this, or after. So yeah, what about you, Nando? Anything to plug?
Just videos and stuff. My pitch for Magneto and the Brotherhood of Mutants movie, that one went on YouTube, which means, and that's great, and everybody should watch that. I also put a YouTube video out that is the other teams, because they said they might be putting more teams in the X-Men, so these are the ones that I think it could be. But then on top of that, we've got besides like Silver Sable and some of the other comic characters on Nebula now, you've got my how could the Doctor Doom thing play out in the movie, like how not even how is that going to work, but just like what could you do, and then when that will be on YouTube probably kind of soon, because I'm working on that, and then because obviously that one's done, but then the one I'm working on is making a lot of progress, and that's my Hey DC Get It Together and Make a Zatanna show video, and it's just about like why that show is a slam dunk, and they got to stop sitting on that character. But James Gunn can only make one movie at a time. I know. They'd rather make one about fucking, I don't know, the Authority, because they're heroes that kill. But yeah, it'll be great. Those videos will be great. I'm sure the movies that they're based on will be great, but yeah, Zatanna's cool. So those will all be on YouTube or Nebula. Besides that, that's all I got. Oh, excuse me. You might find me on like Fortnite or something, which is a game that I play because I finally got
playing it.
Well, I got the Emma Frost skin, so now I might be done. But that was something that happened recently, so very cool. But yeah, so until next week, I've been at Nando V Movies on Twitter.
I'm at Zippy by Day.
I'm at This Is an Odd Name.
Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.